Chapter 21:21. Without any superfluous words, Heavenly Ghost Venerable directly submitted to Gu Fei. Gu Fei's cultivation had already touched that level, but Heavenly Ghost Venerable had lived for countless years. During his lifetime, he had traveled unhindered in the primordial world with few opponents. Although he had fallen, the Heavenly Ghost Lord's soul had switched to the Ghost Tao, and he still became a supreme expert in the dark ghost realm who ruled over a region. During this period, Heavenly Ghost Venerable found the corpse of a sage in the depths of the dark ghost realm. This sage corpse made Heavenly Ghost Venerable truly powerful. He became the strongest existence among the three giants of the dark ghost realm because he was the only one with a battle physique. After a sage died, it was difficult to leave a complete corpse behind. Even if there were corpses, they would be broken. Heavenly Ghost Venerable was very lucky. Very good. Gu Fei was not surprised by Heavenly Ghost Venerable's submission because he was stronger than him. The weak submitted to the strong. This was the law of the jungle. My disciples will be training here for a period of time. Control those vile souls and don't let them harm their lives. Gu Fei said, "Yes, Lord." Heavenly Ghost Venerable quickly accepted the order. At this time, a powerful aura suddenly appeared in the depths of the dark ghost realm. It was as if a wild beast was about to wake up from its slumber. What's going on? Those vile souls that I killed can still appear. Gu Fei was startled. He sensed the aura of Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor. How is this possible? Even Ghost Emperor Fundu's life would be in danger after being slashed by the violet gold divine sword. The three giants of the dark ghost realm definitely did not have Ghost Emperor Fundu's cultivation and realm. Lord, there is a mystical item in the depths of the dark ghost realm. With this item, the creatures of darkness in the dark ghost realm will not truly die. Heavenly Ghost Venerable said. Of course, he also knew that Ghost Battle Emperor and Ghost Demon would not be able to recover to their peak without hundreds or thousands of years of recuperation. What? Gu Fei couldn't help but be incomparably shocked when he heard this. An item that could cause evil spirits to never dissipate? What was that? Could it be a supreme ghost artifact? Legend had it that the Ghost Tao in the soaring dragon ancestral star was a cultivation technique created by Ghost Monarch Feng. However, the mortal realm was so vast, and there were only 5 known ancestral stars in the vast starry sky. It was hard to guarantee that no one else had created the path of ghost cultivation. It had to be known that too many people had died in the great calamity back then. Countless people had lost their physical bodies and turned into wandering ghosts. Take me there, Gu Fei said to Heavenly Ghost Venerable. Just what exactly was it that could prevent these vicious souls from disappearing? He was extremely curious. One has to understand that only things refined by supreme beings could remain undying. Yes. Heavenly Ghost Venerable hastily led Gu Fei towards the depths of the He-Tian land. In the endless darkness, one could occasionally see dark creatures roaming around. This was a place without heaven or earth. The surroundings were pitch black and there was no ground. However, along the way, Gu Fei saw more than a dozen mountains floating in the void. Each of the mountains that floated in the void had a powerful, ghostly aura lingering around them. The ghostly aura gave people a gloomy and cold feeling. These mountains were occupied by powerful Yin souls. This was Ghost Demon's territory. But at this time, the ghosts under Heavenly Ghost Venerable's command had already taken action. Heavenly Ghost Venerable wanted to take over the territories of Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor. The 2 giants had been killed by Gu Fei, giving Heavenly Ghost Venerable a ready-made bargain. That's, after traveling hundreds of thousands of miles, a light appeared in front of them. It was a kind of eerie blue light that broke the darkness. An aura that even made Gu Fei's heart palpitate came from the front. The eerie blue light dispersed the darkness and actually enveloped the void within a radius of 30,000 miles. Within this void, There were no traces of any vicious souls or malicious ghosts. This is the source of the dark ghost world, Heavenly Ghost Venerable said. It could also be said that this was a guarantee that the countless vicious souls and malicious ghosts of the dark ghost world could exist forever. To the countless vicious souls and malicious ghosts of the dark ghost world, this was an inviolable holy land. Swish! Just as Gu Fei and Heavenly Ghost Venerable arrived in front of this huge light barrier, a black light suddenly rushed into the eerie blue void and disappeared into the depths of this void. What is that? Gu Fei was shocked when he saw that black light. Within that black light, there seemed to be a faint life imprint, which made him extremely shocked. An expert of the ghost Tao was killed. The heavenly Tao imprint flew back to the source. Heavenly Ghost Venerable said, "What?" Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. The thing in the depths of the void was too heaven-defying. It could actually control the heavenly Tao imprint of a living being. In the world of cultivation, the so-called body and soul annihilation was the most thorough way to die, where even the life imprint was scattered. However, Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor were killed by Gu Fei with the violet gold divine sword. Their ghost Tao essence was devoured by the violet gold divine sword. Gu Fei knew very well that when he killed Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor, there was no life imprint flying out. In other words, Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor should be dead beyond belief. However, the truth didn't seem to be the case. Gu Fei could clearly sense Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor's aura coming from the depths of the eerie blue void. Without hesitation, Gu Fei directly entered the void shrouded by the eerie blue light. This is, as soon as he entered the void, a strange power actually imprisoned him. It was as if an ancient divine mountain had suddenly pressed down on his body. Ha! At this time, Heavenly Ghost Sovereign suddenly burst into laughter. Gu Fei was secretly shocked. At this time, he finally realized that this Heavenly Ghost Sovereign seemed to be subservient to him on the surface, but he secretly wanted to lure him here and use the power here to deal with him. You can't move, can you? Heavenly Ghost Sovereign smiled. He didn't enter the void, shrouded by the eerie blue light. The reason was very simple. He knew what would happen if he entered that place. How can this be? Gu Fei was still calm. Although the power imprisoning him was extremely powerful, he wasn't completely imprisoned by it. He could still move, albeit barely. However, he didn't move because he wanted to know the reason. Didn't you notice that there isn't even a soul in there? Chapter 21-22. The mysterious blue godly light shrouded a radius of 30,000 miles, dispelling the darkness and emitting an unfathomable aura. Gu Fei took the risk to barge into the void that was shrouded by the blue godly light. Instantly, he was restrained by an extremely powerful force. This force made it hard for Gu Fei to move. It's true that this is the source of the dark ghost world. However, this source can only be entered by the soul imprints of those who have been slain. Heavenly Ghost Lord had no more guesses. Therefore, he revealed the not-so-secret secret of the dark ghost world. So, the reason why the countless souls of the dark bone ghost world could exist was due to the existence of the source of the ghost Tao. Even if they were slain, their life imprints would return to the source of the ghost Tao. Borrowing the power of the source, they would be reborn. Now you should be able to die in peace, right? Haha, Heavenly Ghost Lord laughed out loud. This human had helped him get rid of the Ghost Battle Emperor and Ghost Demon. Now he could unify the entire dark ghost world. This was something that had never happened before in the entire dark ghost world. In the entire ghost world, there had never been a supreme ghost lord who could unify the entire ghost world. Seems like you've never truly submitted to me from the start. Gu Fei chuckled bitterly before replying. Haha, that's for sure. How can I, Heavenly Ghost Lord, be compared to those two fools? Heavenly Ghost Lord was extremely pleased. Not only had he gotten rid of this incomparably powerful existence without any effort, he could even unify the ghost world and become the supreme ghost lord. This was truly exhilarating. I'll take good care of those disciples of yours. Haha. As Heavenly Ghost Lord spoke, he took out a metal spear. This metal spear looked rusty, but there was a terrifying killing intent emanating from it. Gu Fei was taken aback. His back was facing Heavenly Ghost Lord. Even though he couldn't see anything, the chilling killing intent that emanated from his back was enough to cause his heart to skip a beat. The restraining power emanating from that blue radiance made it hard for his consciousness to leave his body. Die. Heavenly Ghost Lord didn't want to say anything more. Wielding that rusty metal spear in his hand, he stabbed it towards Gu Fei. The metal spear pierced through the blue light barrier. Clang! Just when Heavenly Ghost Sovereign thought he could kill Gu Fei with a single strike, he felt his hand shake. The spear stabbed into Gu Fei's back, and the sound of metal colliding rang out. What? The Heavenly Ghost Lord was truly taken aback right now. If he couldn't kill this human and allowed him to break free, the one who would be dead would be him. No one would easily let go of someone who betrayed them. There are many people who want me dead, but there aren't many who can kill me, and it definitely won't be you. Gu Fei calmly spoke. At this moment, he no longer hid his true strength. A heaven-shaking aura erupted from his body, causing the space around him to ripple. Roar! He roared at the sky, and the iron spear, piercing his back, was immediately jolted away. This Heavenly Ghost Lord was truly taken aback right now. To think that the iron spear would be knocked out of his hands by the immense power that was being released from the other party's body. This was something that he could hardly believe. He had lived for countless of years. Back in the ancient times, he had already dominated the entire region and was almost invincible. When the great calamity arrived, he even managed to carve out a path of blood. However, the battle prowess that he had displayed had alarmed a powerful being on the other side. That powerful being then struck out and killed the Heavenly Ghost Lord. Even so, his soul managed to survive. After the great calamity, the entire planet was suppressed by an unparalleled power, and an entire era was buried in the sands just like that. I want to unify the entire ghost realm. No one can stop me. The Heavenly Ghost Lord's eyes were filled with madness. He stretched out his hand, and the iron spear that was knocked away flew back into his hands. The moment he held onto the spear, his entire aura changed. A domineering aura spread out from the Heavenly Ghost Lord's body. Humph! How dare you betray me? Gu Fei slowly turned around. His eyes flashed with divine light, and his gaze was extremely sharp. The suppressive power from the deep blue space could no longer suppress him. How is this possible? The Heavenly Ghost Lord found it hard to believe that there was actually someone who could contend against the power of the deep blue space. It should be said that even if he were to charge in, he would also be imprisoned. Go die! The Heavenly Ghost Lord thrust the iron spear at Gu Fei's chest. There seemed to be scarlet blood flowing on the rusty iron spear. A weapon stained with the blood of a saint. Seeing this, Gu Fei was shocked. This iron spear was very extraordinary. Someone had once used this iron spear to kill a powerful saint-level existence. This was a weapon capable of killing a saint. This iron spear had a great origin. Back when the Heavenly Ghost Lord discovered this saint-level immortal holy corpse, the weapon the holy corpse was holding was this iron spear. The aura emitted from the rusty iron spear made Gu Fei feel danger. He directly stretched out his right hand. His entire right palm quickly turned purplish gold, and a metallic luster flowed on his palm. Clang! The iron spear directly stabbed into Gu Fei's palm, emitting a metallic sound. Then the iron spear was blocked by Gu Fei's palm. The Heavenly Ghost Lord only felt a great force from the iron spear. Then the iron spear in his hand was jolted out of his hand again. Even someone with the immortal holy body couldn't hold it. The heavenly ghost lord was dumbfounded. How could a human's body be so powerful? It should be known that the iron spear in his hand had once killed a saint-level existence. He had relied on the holy corpse and iron spear to become the most powerful giant in the ghost world. Even Ghost Demon and Ghost Battle Emperor had to be wary of him. Now, what he relied on was simply a joke in the eyes of the opponent. You can go die now. Gu Fei's voice was incomparably calm. He directly grabbed at the heavenly ghost lord. A powerful cold sword, Qi, rushed out of his hand and enveloped the heavenly ghost lord. No! Only now did the heavenly ghost lord realize that he seemed to have done something extremely stupid. But there was no medicine for regret now. Swoosh! Purple gold sword light converged from all directions, and countless sword lights streaked across the heavenly ghost Venerable's holy corpse before disappearing into the void. The heavenly ghost lord's movements immediately stopped. His frightened eyes were filled with unwillingness. Gu Fei no longer paid attention to the heavenly ghost lord. He knew that if he couldn't obtain the item in the deep blue void, even if he killed the heavenly ghost lord now, the ghost Tao origin would give birth to a new one. Chapter 21-23. Gu Fei was very curious about the fact that the ghosts in the dark ghost realm could be indestructible. What exactly was it that made these ghosts indestructible? After killing Heavenly Ghost Lord, Gu Fei continued to use the weapon fusion art, drawing the power of his divine sword to protect himself as he walked deeper into the deep blue void. Skeletons were floating in the dark blue void. Among these skeletons, there were those of the human race and those of the alien race. It was unknown how long these skeletons had existed, but some of them were still shiny and sparkling, still exuding a kind of divinity. With the protection of the violet gold divine sword, Gu Fei could walk freely in the dark blue void. The powerful suppression in this part of the void could no longer affect him. What's going on? Is there really a paragon divine weapon here? Gu Fei was very surprised. In the depths of the dark blue void, there was the ghost Tao origin energy. All the ghosts that were killed would be reborn from the ghost Tao origin energy. The closer he got to the depths of the dark blue void, the stronger the chilling aura that Gu Fei felt. In the depths of the dark blue void, there seemed to be a peerless and terrifying existence sleeping. Even with the protection of the paragon divine sword, Gu Fei could still feel the dangerous aura. The dark blue void covered a radius of 30,000 miles. In such a place, all divine senses were imprisoned in the body, and it was difficult to release them. Even Gu Fei couldn't do so. In this place, one could only observe with the naked eye. Gu Fei suddenly stopped and saw a huge figure in front of him. It was the corpse of a black serpent that was thousands of meters long. This serpent was very extraordinary. It could actually have an immortal body. Its body was covered with a layer of black scales, and there was a kind of dark light flowing on it. The serpent was like a mountain in front of them. Its huge black body gave off an incomparably powerful pressure, causing Gu Fei's expression to change. It was hard to imagine how powerful this serpent was when it was alive. It was definitely an existence comparable to an immortal Venerable. A powerful ancient creature had fallen here. Its flesh was undying, but it still emitted a powerful aura. This caused Gu Fei's mind to tremble. It was hard to imagine what kind of existence could actually kill this giant snake. Gu Fei carefully examined this big black, cold corpse. There was no trace of life, but it seemed to be in a deep sleep, as if it could wake up at any time. He circled around the snake and continued forward. After advancing for less than 1,000 miles, he saw countless rocks and soil floating in front of him. Between these rocks and soil, there were countless bones. From the distribution of the stones and soil, it wasn't hard to tell that this was the ruins of a mountain that had been blown up by someone. A fierce battle had taken place here. This was an ancient battlefield that was sealed in the blue void. The experts who had fallen back then were only left with countless broken bones. Gu Fei couldn't help feeling shocked inside as he walked through the ruins. To be able to cause such destruction, the existence that had done this had to be extremely powerful. Gu Fei suddenly saw a flash of white light among the rocks beside him. He couldn't help but be startled. He then walked towards the place where the white light appeared. When he arrived in front of the rubble, he saw a severed arm among the rubble. This severed arm had not turned into bones, and blood that had not yet coagulated could be seen at the severed area. The severed arm was holding a broken sword. The white light that appeared just now was emitted by the broken sword in this severed arm's hand. Both the severed arm and the broken sword were extraordinary. Although countless years had passed, the blood contained in the severed arm still contained divinity and hadn't completely coagulated. As for the broken sword that was held by the severed arm, the Tao runes inside it hadn't been completely eroded by the long years. There were still incomplete Tao runes inside the broken sword. Could it be that this was the battle that destroyed all life on this ancient planet? Gu Fei muttered to himself. This was definitely a severed arm left behind by a saint-level existence. It should be known that only the corpse of a saint-level existence contained fragments of the great Tao could achieve immortality. This was a great battle that could even cause the death of a powerful existence at the sage level. One could well imagine that the battle back then was absolutely earth-shattering, turning an ancient planet with countless lives into a barren land. Gu Fei continued forward, passing through the ruins. Then he saw a scene that left him dumbfounded. He saw that in front of him there were many ruined pavilions and palaces floating in the air. Between these pavilions and palaces, there were countless bones. A divine palace had been completely destroyed. This was a divine palace that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the depths of the divine palace, there were terrifying fluctuations coming out. This was the supreme origin of the ghost path that heavenly ghost Venerable had mentioned. Roar! As soon as Gu Fei got close to this ruined divine palace, he heard countless shouts of killing. The scenery in front of him suddenly changed. The ground was covered in blood, and corpses were everywhere. Figures shrouded in pitch-black demonic aura walked among the mountains of corpses and seas of blood. High in the sky, there were peerless humans fighting against powerful demonic figures. Murderous intent soared to the sky, and it was extremely tragic. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei's blood began to boil. His fighting spirit was aroused, and he had an impulse to rush forward. "Wake up!" Gu Fei fiercely bit the tip of his tongue and shivered. The scene in front of him immediately disappeared, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. What a powerful illusion! Gu Fei was shocked. The origin of the ghost path was indeed extraordinary. Even he almost lost his mind. If it was someone else, they would have already fallen into madness. The shadow of an ancient cauldron emerged from Gu Fei's body and enveloped him. Primordial chaos chi surged, completely isolating the strange aura that could confuse one's mind from the depths of the divine palace. Gu Fei didn't hesitate and stepped into the divine palace. He saw that it was in ruins, and not a single pavilion or palace was intact. The entire divine palace was almost destroyed. Countless skeletons floated everywhere. Broken weapons and mystic treasures could be seen everywhere, and even pitch-black skeletons could be seen. Those were the black, demonic bones that only the demons had. Is this a demonic rampage? Gu Fei muttered to himself. Demons seemed to be everywhere. Soaring dragon ancestral star, Bujo ancestral star, and now this sky burial star. There were traces of demons everywhere. He carefully snuck forward, and soon he arrived near the legendary origin of the ghost path. At this time, faint roars, moans, and laughter came from the void. All sorts of sounds seemed to come from infinitely far away and into Gu Fei's ears. What is that? At this time, Gu Fei suddenly looked up into the sky. He saw an incomparably huge skull fixed in the sky. The skull emitted a faint blue light and an extremely pure fluctuation of the ghost path spread out from the skull. Chapter 21-24. The blue skull, as big as a mountain, hung high in the sky, emitting a misty blue brilliance. This brilliance enveloped a radius of 30,000 miles, dispersing the endless darkness in the surroundings. A powerful supreme-level aura spread out from the huge skull, causing Gu Fei to be shocked to the extreme. This was the skull of a fallen supreme. This skull was the skull of a supreme. How is this possible? Gu Fei muttered to himself, his voice trembling. The skull of a supreme. Could it be that the great calamity of this ancient planet had provoked an ancient supreme to take action? The skull, that was emitting a dark blue brilliance, sealed off a part of the void. Anyone who broke in would be mercilessly suppressed by the power emitted by the skull. If it weren't for the protection of the mountain and river cauldron, it would have been difficult for Gu Fei to enter the world enveloped by the blue brilliance. He wouldn't have been able to approach this legendary ghost Tao source. Even with the protection of the mountain and river cauldron, he still felt a great pressure from the skull in the sky. The ghost Tao source was actually in the shape of a skull, which greatly surprised Gu Fei. He could sense the aura of the 3 dark ghost worlds overlords that he had killed earlier coming from the sinister-looking skull. The ghost Tao Supreme, or rather, the skull of a supreme, has undergone an unimaginable change. Gu Fei muttered. He never thought that this would be the result. The ghost Tao source was just a skull of a supreme. No wonder the evil spirits in the dark ghost world were so hard to destroy. One had to know that the skull of a supreme definitely contained an immortal divinity. This skull was already a supreme divine object. Gu Fei wanted to take this skull away, but how to do it was a problem. Rumble. In the end, Gu Fei used the mountain and river cauldron, turning it into a huge cauldron that swallowed the skull. The primal chaos chi was vast and mighty, and the power of the mountain and river cauldron shook the skull in the sky. The skull seemed to have sensed the threat and actually began to tremble. A deep blue light spread out from its surface, and one supreme Tao pattern after another appeared on the skull, condensing the power of the supreme great path. The skull did not transmit any thoughts. The skull's reaction seemed to be a natural reaction in the face of a threat. Inside the skulls were countless ghosts, and among them there were 3 ghosts whose auras were countless times stronger than the others. In order to control the tenebrous ghost world, he would first have to obtain the ghost Tao source energy within the ghost world. Now that the ghost Tao source was right before his eyes, wouldn't he be able to obtain an undying army of ghosts if he refined it? Without any suspense, the mountain river cauldron descended from the sky and sucked the skull into the mountain river cauldron. At this moment, the blue light disappeared and the whole world was plunged into darkness. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers in front of them. The terrifying aura also disappeared. Roar. A world-shaking roar resounded from afar. An incomparably powerful creature of darkness had its eyes on Gu Fei. It wanted to snatch the supreme skeleton skull. You're courting death. Gu Fei sneered. Even the heavenly ghost lord wasn't a match for him, so there was no need to be afraid of these vile spirits that weren't even comparable to the heavenly ghost lord. Bang! Gu Fei threw a punch, and the vile spirit that was charging towards him was immediately sent flying. Boom! It exploded in the void. He descended from the sky and landed in the dilapidated divine palace below. The ghost Tao source energy here is not bad. Gu Fei muttered to himself. Then he opened his inner world, and a powerful death aura immediately appeared in this part of the world. Then countless undying creatures rushed out from Gu Fei's inner world. Greetings, Master. After the 3 great emperors among the undying creatures rushed out of Gu Fei's inner world, they hurriedly bowed to Gu Fei, not daring to show any neglect. Yes, Gu Fei nodded, then said to the 3 great emperors, Go, conquer this heaven and earth. Yes, The three great emperors were extremely excited. After coming out of Gu Fei's inner world, they immediately sensed the aura of the outside world. This was a ghost domain. The three undying emperors immediately led their subordinates and rushed out. Kill! A shocking, murderous aura filled the sky. The three great emperors hadn't fought for many years. They led their subordinates like three unstoppable torrents, killing in three different directions. Countless ghosts entrenched in the dark ghost domain were alarmed. Many unlucky ghosts directly encountered the three great emperors. The three great emperors directly scattered their souls and devoured the abstruse Yin Ghost Qi. The occult Yin Ghost Qi in the dark ghost world was definitely a great supplement to the undead. Gu Fei wanted to train his troops and temper them into an even more powerful and terrifying undead army. On this day, a great upheaval swept across the entire dark ghost domain. At this time, Gu Fei sat cross-legged in front of the mountain and river cauldron. He wanted to refine the skull suppressed in the mountain and river cauldron. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron constantly vibrated. The skull of a supreme being was not that easy to refine. Endless ghost Tao source power was vast and mighty, causing the mountain and river cauldron to vibrate. It was just a skull, but it had such great power. This really shocked Gu Fei. The mountain and river cauldron contained primordial chaos qi. Just a strand of this kind of ancestral qi could crush a mountain range. Gu Fei used this power to suppress the skull of the Supreme Being. Soon, Gu Fei discovered that the Supreme Being's skull seemed to be in a mysterious state. There seemed to be no spiritual fluctuations, but the ghost Tao source power in the skull was constantly beating. It seemed that there really was someone who cultivated the ghost Tao to the extreme and achieved the ghost Tao Supreme Being. Even after countless years, the origin fire in the skull would never be extinguished. The Supreme Being's skull had immortal divinity. It contained countless life imprints of the ghost Tao. The origin fire in the skull seemed to be a different kind of life that had gathered countless life imprints. It was hard to say what kind of existence it was. As long as the life imprints in the Supreme Being's skull were erased, the ghost Tao experts killed by Gu Fei, like the Heavenly Ghost Lord, would be destroyed in body and soul. They would disappear directly and would never be reborn again. At this time, the Supreme Being's skull was suppressed in the mountain and river cauldron. It could no longer receive the life imprints when the ghosts died. In other words, the balance of the dark ghost domain had been broken by Gu Fei. The three great emperors were constantly harvesting the ghosts and devouring their soul power. Chapter 21-25. Inside the ruins of the Heavenly Palace, Gu Fei activated the power of the cauldron of mountain and river, wanting to refine the skull. Rumble! The sound of wind and thunder came from the cauldron of mountain and river. A wisp of the aura of a supreme being was emitted from the cauldron, shaking the entire ghost world. Countless ferocious souls were terrified. Roar! Within the cauldron of mountain and river, a series of roars could be heard. It was the roar of the countless souls that were being nurtured within the skull. A powerful supreme being's power exploded from the skull, fighting against the power of the cauldron of mountain and river. Yes, Gu Fei was a little surprised. He didn't think that a skull would be so difficult to refine, but then he thought about it and understood. This was the skull of a supreme being, and it had existed for countless years. Not only was the flame of a supreme being not extinguished, it was also growing stronger and stronger. In this ghost world, perhaps there were only 2 or 3 little ghosts, but this skull could control the marks of the heavenly path of the ghosts, making them immortal. After that, the Supreme Being's skull changed. It automatically absorbed the marks of the heavenly Tao that were drifting in the dark void. As time passed, it became the source of the ghost Tao in the tenebrous ghost world. Patterns of the Great Path continuously appeared on the skull, intertwining into mysterious patterns that prevented the essence of the skull from leaking. This was an automatic protective reaction. The skull definitely had great origin. Even with the power of the cauldron of mountain and river, it would be very difficult to refine it. At this time, the skull felt the threat from the cauldron of mountain and river. Something was happening inside the skull, and the countless marks of the heavenly path showed signs of merging. When Gu Fei sensed the changes within the skull, his heart couldn't help trembling. This was like a big fish eating a small fish. The stronger Heavenly Tao brand devoured the weaker Heavenly Tao brand, allowing its own power to increase. If this continued, the skull would definitely give birth to the strongest mark of life. At that time, the skull would most likely have a master. The powerful mark of life would merge with the immortal soul of the skull, and a new life would be born. This was not a supreme being, but it was still extremely terrifying. Interesting. Gu Fei smiled. He was not worried at all. Instead, he wanted to see to what extent the countless heavenly Tao imprints in the supreme being's skull would grow. He wanted to see if it would really give birth to a new life form, as he had guessed. Buzz. The mountain and river cauldron vibrated. In the space inside the mountain and river cauldron, countless divine runes of the great path of chaos appeared around the supreme skull. The divine runes sealed the area, sealing the supreme skull within. Gu Fei sat cross-legged in front of the mountain and river cauldron. He seemed to have become a bystander, allowing the supreme being's skull, which was sealed in the mountain and river cauldron, to constantly transform and evolve. At this time, Gu Fei's undead army had already engulfed the entire dark ghost realm. In the dark ghost realm, the undead creatures were like fish in water. They became even more ferocious. Under the leadership of the 3 undead emperors, they swept through everything in their path. They didn't encounter any real opponents. In just a few hours, more than half of the ghost plane had fallen into the control of Gu Fei's undead army. Boom! Just when the undead emperor led countless evil corpses to attack a floating mountain, a shocking deathly aura erupted from the inside of the mountain. Endless deathly aura shrouded the world. A terrifying figure rushed out of the mountain. What is that? The undead emperor's footsteps were finally stopped. The existence that rushed out of the mountain was extremely powerful. It was actually a broken corpse. There was a decaying aura lingering on the corpse. This was an ancient corpse that had almost lost its divinity due to the merciless corrosion of time. There was a powerful dead spirit occupying this ancient corpse. Humph! The undead emperor didn't say much. He just snorted coldly and then directly rushed towards the ancient corpse that was filled with a decaying aura. The powerful corpse aura actually shrouded half of the sky. A great battle broke out. The ancient corpse was very powerful. It could actually fight endlessly with the undead emperor. One should know that the undead emperor was not idle in Gu Fei's inner world. The undead emperor was already an almighty corpse emperor. His cultivation was no weaker than Gu Fei's disciple, Yao Yu. In fact, his battle strength was even above Yao Yu's. Where did this corpse ghost come from? How dare it behave atrociously in the ghost plane? The ancient corpse emitted a powerful wave of divine will. It was obvious that the dead spirit that had taken over the ancient corpse had almost completely fused with it. The corpse aura emitted from the ancient corpse was actually not weaker than the undead emperor's. Kill. Needless to say, the undead emperor displayed his great technique. Endless corpse aura turned into chains of death, entangling the ancient corpse. Every chain of death had faint death Tao patterns on it. The ancient corpse was extremely shocked. The opponent's cultivation was extremely powerful. He felt a great threat. Where did these outsiders come from? The dead spirits in the ghost plane wouldn't be able to find so many corpses of immortals. One should know that corpses in the ghost plane were extremely rare. In the entire ghost plane, only Heavenly Ghost Sovereign could find an intact corpse. Roar! The ancient corpse roared at the sky. A corrosive power rushed out from his body. Wherever this corrosive power passed, the void was corroded and was silently annihilated. Sizzle! When the corrosive power came into contact with the undying corpse emperor's undying chain, the undying corpse emperor's undying chain actually emitted black smoke, showing signs of being corroded. Retreat! The undead emperor was shocked. He quickly ordered, and the evil corpses behind him immediately retreated. The undead chains were corroded, forcing the undead emperor to retreat temporarily. This corrosive power was too powerful. It seemed to be able to corrode everything in the world. It was extremely terrifying. How is this possible? The undead emperor was extremely shocked. He stared at the tattered ancient corpse, shrouded in corrosive power. This corrosive power was really terrifying. Could it be that after a saint-level expert died, an unimaginable change happened to the corpse and formed this unique death chi? Outsider, even that old ghost, heavenly ghost sovereign, has to retreat when he meets me. Who do you think you are? The ancient corpse said coldly. His cultivation might not be as strong as heavenly ghost sovereign, but his corrosive power was unlucky. It was precisely because of this ability that no one dared to attack him. Who is heavenly ghost sovereign? I don't know him. Chapter 21-26. When the undead corpse emperor was fighting in the dark ghost realm, he encountered a powerful opponent. That opponent was also an ancient corpse, but this ancient corpse was different from the others. The muscles, bones, and flesh of this ancient corpse had almost completely decayed, and there was a terrifying corrosive power lingering above it. Outsider, if you don't want your body and soul to be destroyed, then get lost. The ancient corpse emitted a divine will fluctuation. This divine will fluctuation was very strange and did not come from the ancient corpse's head. Preposterous! The undead corpse emperor was furious. This guy was too arrogant. He actually dared to tell him to get lost. This guy thought he was a supreme being. Kill! The undead corpse emperor roared and charged towards the ancient corpse in front of him. A layer of black death light was faintly discernible on his body, blocking the terrifying corrosive power that was surging towards him. What? The ancient corpse was really shocked. The opponent was not afraid of his corrosive power. This was definitely not a good thing for him. Swoosh! The ancient corpse directly retreated. The black gas that rushed out from his body turned into ghostly shadows that rushed towards the undead corpse emperor. The blurry, ghostly shadows emitted terrifying fluctuations. As long as they could pounce on the undead corpse emperor, they would be able to turn the undead corpse emperor into a puddle of stinky yellow corpse liquid. Of course, the undead corpse emperor would not let these ghostly shadows get close to him. He continuously attacked, and all the ghostly shadows that rushed towards him were destroyed by his fists. He was extremely powerful. Roar! When the last ghostly shadow was destroyed, the undead corpse emperor punched with all his strength. The extremely fierce fist energy was like a mountain torrent, crashing towards the ancient corpse. The ancient corpse was very cunning. He did not fight the undead corpse emperor head-on. Instead, he wandered around. As long as he saw the undead corpse emperor reveal a flaw, he would immediately attack. The corrosive power lingering in the void was silently corroding the undead corpse emperor. The death force that erupted from the undead corpse emperor was constantly weakened and devoured. If this continued, even if the undead corpse emperor became more powerful, he would still be defeated by this ancient corpse in the end. The undead corpse emperor also saw this. He knew that a prolonged battle would be very disadvantageous to him. The corrosive power emitted by his opponent was a threat to him. Seamless samsara. The undying corpse emperor unleashed a great technique. Terrifying death energy erupted from his body. The space above his head trembled. Then, the space there suddenly collapsed and cracked, forming a pitch-black gap that was thousands of meters wide. A heaven-devouring power surged out from the crack above the undying corpse emperor's head and enveloped the ancient corpse. The ancient corpse was immediately pulled into the air by a suction force and flew towards the spatial crack above the undead corpse emperor's head. Be it the corrosive energy or the death energy, they were all swallowed up by the spatial crack. What? that ancient corpse's shock was no small matter. The opponent actually cultivated such a great technique. It was truly frightening. However, this ancient corpse was not easy to deal with. Just as he was about to be swallowed by the spatial crack, an incomparably huge figure emerged from the ancient corpse's body. It was as if a primordial giant had appeared in this part of the world. The powerful fluctuations of power caused the entire void to tremble. It was incomparably terrifying. Bang! The giant figure only threw a punch, and the 1,000-foot-wide spatial crack immediately collapsed, turning this part of the world into chaos. Seeing this scene, the undead corpse emperor was extremely shocked. Bang! After the giant figure shattered the void with a punch, he directly stepped towards the undead corpse emperor. He was like a real, primordial god, peerlessly powerful. The undead corpse emperor did not dare to fight head-on. He rushed out from under the giant's foot. What's going on? Could it be that the origin energy of this ancient corpse still hasn't dissipated? The undead corpse emperor naturally knew what kind of magical power this ancient corpse was displaying. This ancient corpse had stimulated the origin energy contained in the ancient corpse, causing the ancient corpse's power to recover once again. Only after the death of a powerful saint-level existence, the power contained in the corpse would not dissipate. If some kind of secret technique was used, the power in these saint-level corpses could be recovered and used again. The shadow that was like a primordial giant was the figure manifested after the power of the ancient corpse was recovered. From this figure, it could be seen that this ancient corpse was definitely an extremely powerful saint-level existence when it was alive. Such an existence was enough to move unhindered in the untainted land of the Antiquity era. This is forcing me to risk my life. The undead corpse emperor naturally had a trump card that he had not used. This ancient corpse was too powerful. It was not a bad thing to encounter such an opponent. At least it could force him to go all out. Roar! Seeing that the huge figure was about to slap his head again, the undead corpse emperor roared angrily. 2 frightening blood-red evil lights shot out from his eyes. Then a mass of black light rushed out from the top of his head and turned into a divine sun, floating above his head. A terrifying power fluctuation spread out from the black, divine sun, above the undead corpse emperor's head, directly shaking this part of the world. At this moment, in other parts of the dark ghost realm, there were experts who sensed this powerful fluctuation. That old corpse has met its match. In another direction, a white skeleton shrouded in a mass of soul divine light turned around and looked in the direction of the undead corpse emperor with a bone saber in its hand. Behind the skeleton were countless skeletons of the dead. There is actually someone in this place that forced that evil corpse to go all out. In an Antiquity era relic, there were countless faint, ghostly figures. In front of these countless, ghostly figures, there was a mass of black chi. Within the black chi, there was a powerful black shadow looming. Roar! At this time, there were heart-palpitating roars everywhere in the dark, ghost realm. Of course, this was not a sound, but a wave of divine will. Some powerful local dead spirits were alarmed. I didn't expect that there would be other powerful hidden existences in this place besides the 3 giants. In the ruins of the divine palace, in front of an ancient cauldron, Gufei muttered to himself. At this time, the Supreme Being's skull inside the mountain and river cauldron was undergoing an unimaginable change. More than half of the countless life imprints inside the skull had disappeared, and a few powerful life imprints had devoured the weaker ones. To Gufei's surprise, there were no signs of life from the 3 magnates among the surviving life imprints. In other words, even the powerful life imprints of the 3 magnates had been devoured by other life imprints. How could this be? Chapter 21-27. As if a life was evolving, a powerful wave of life came out from the mountain and river cauldron. The supreme skull seemed to be nurturing a supreme life. This was a mysterious process of life evolution. The weak life imprints were devoured and turned into nourishment for the strong life imprints. This sort of evolution shocked Gu Fei, and at the same time he seemed to have seen a different path of transformation. He had a bold idea. What would happen if he gathered the life imprints of billions of living beings in his body? What's wrong with me? Gu Fei quickly dismissed this idea. To gather the life imprints of billions of creatures into one body, it would mean slaughtering countless creatures. Such an act was no different from a demon. Could it be that demons use this method to increase their cultivation and strength? Gu Fei suddenly came to a realization. Demons must have a purpose for slaughtering all living beings. If this was really the case, it was no wonder that demons would become the enemies of all living beings in the world. The evolution inside the Supreme Skull continued. There seemed to be thousands of souls screaming in despair inside. Every life imprint that was devoured would burst out with the most powerful wave when it dissipated. Rumble, the wave of life emitted from the Supreme Skull, was getting stronger and stronger, but this process seemed to continue for a long time. It couldn't be completed in a short time. Just as Gu Fei was guarding the mountain and river cauldron, the battle between the undead Corpse Emperor and the rotten corpse had also reached a white-hot stage. The two great experts displayed terrifying great techniques and constantly clashed. Boom! Bang! A black divine sun and a huge shadow constantly collided, erupting with incomparably powerful waves of power. The void between heaven and earth was constantly collapsing. The undead Corpse Emperor displayed a great technique and evolved the black sun. The power of death from all directions was drawn over. The black sun emitted endless black light, and the powerful power shook the heavens and the earth. The rotten corpse knew that it had encountered a strong enemy. It used all its strength to stimulate a wisp of the original power contained in the rotten corpse. It transformed into a huge shadow and constantly collided with the black sun. Bang! The huge palm swept across the sky and directly slapped towards the black sun in the sky. A large area of the void collapsed under the illusory hand and turned into chaos. The undying Corpse Emperor fell into a bitter battle. At the same time, the undying Skeleton Emperor also encountered a powerful opponent. It was a divine crocodile that rushed out of a bone mountain. It was also a white bone, undead spirit, but this divine crocodile actually had flesh growing on some parts of its body. He wants to reverse life and death and reconstruct his body. When the undying Skeleton Emperor saw this divine crocodile, it couldn't help feeling shocked. This fellow was not simple at all. It actually wanted to defy the heavens and undergo a rebirth. One must know that it was extremely difficult for the undying skeleton to defy the heavens and be reborn. The undying Skeleton Emperor had learned from Gu Fei that there were only two people who had successfully reversed life and death and reconstructed their flesh. One was the supreme existence that had been reborn from the yin-yang jade pendant. This supreme existence had suppressed the extreme North Devil Land with his own strength and was powerful to an unimaginable extent. The other person was none other than Erebus. Back then, Haitian had borrowed the power of the mountain and river cauldron to successfully reverse life and death. His bones were reborn, and he became a human with flesh and blood. The undying Skeleton Emperor was very clear about the difficulty of reversing life and death. That was why it was shocked that there was flesh growing on the divine crocodile's bones. Outsider, we have minded our own business. Why are you disturbing my cultivation? In the divine crocodile's skull, an incomparably vigorous flame of life was jumping. A spiritual will came from its skull, filled with hostility. Outsider, the undying Skeleton Emperor couldn't help but be stunned. How did this fellow know that we're outsiders? You guys don't have the aura of this world. As if it knew what the undying Skeleton Emperor was thinking, the divine crocodile spoke. I see. The undying Skeleton Emperor said, Outsider, you guys can leave. Don't disturb my cultivation. This divine crocodile was truly extraordinary. It was as if it was focused on cultivating and didn't have the time to care about anything else. This was an incomparably powerful, undying creature. It was only a step away from becoming a half-saint. Inside its bones, there were already streaks of blood. This was a sign of flesh and blood regeneration. Submit to me, and flesh and blood regeneration won't be a problem, the undying skeleton emperor said. What? When the godly crocodile heard this, the soul fire in its skull immediately flickered violently. Its goal was to regenerate its flesh and blood. Now that it heard its own kind saying that regenerating flesh and blood was not a problem, how could it not be shocked? Are you kidding me? If flesh and blood can be regrown, then why are you still like this? The divine crocodile said coldly, My master really knows the method of flesh and blood regeneration. I have no reason to lie to you. The undying skeleton emperor said, Your master. The divine crocodile was shocked. It never expected that there would be a master behind the other party. The guy in front of it was extremely powerful, not far from it. If he could be such a master, then the existence behind this guy must be even more powerful and terrifying. Very well, but I will only submit to your master. I will not submit to you. The divine crocodile said after thinking for a while, If you want to submit to my master, then you have to show some sincerity. The undying skeleton emperor said, What sincerity? The divine crocodile asked, It's very simple. First, help me to sweep across this world and conquer those guys who refuse to submit. The undying skeleton emperor said in a deep voice, Haha, what's so difficult about that? As long as I don't go against the three magnates, I can do whatever I want in this dark ghost world. The divine crocodile laughed and said, With its current cultivation, it could indeed go against the three magnates of the dark ghost world. However, if it encountered the three magnates, it would be out of luck. What three magnates? They were all killed by my master. The undying skeleton emperor said in disdain. What? The divine crocodile was shocked after hearing this. The master behind this guy was really a ruthless character. He actually killed the three magnates of the dark ghost world. Could there really be someone who could unify the dark ghost world? Let's begin. The undying skeleton emperor said and led his skeleton army to kill. The divine crocodile quickly followed. With the addition of the divine crocodile, the undying skeleton emperor and the others killed all the way to the end of this world. No opponent could stop them. The emperor of the netherworld was not as lucky as the undying skeleton emperor. The emperor of the netherworld encountered an extremely powerful evil spirit. Just like the undying corpse emperor, the emperor of the netherworld was also in a tough fight. Roar. Chapter 21-28. When the emperor of the netherworld led his ghost soldiers to battle in the dark ghost realm, he encountered a powerful opponent. His opponent was a demonic ghost emperor who was extremely powerful. Outsider, go to hell. The emperor of the netherworld broke into the territory of the demonic ghost emperor. The demonic ghost emperor immediately took action. He waved his hand and shot out 9 dark lights towards the emperor of the netherworld. Swoosh! The emperor of the netherworld soared into the sky and dodged the 9 dark lights. He then stretched out his hand and performed the ghost hand of the netherworld. A huge, illusory hand instantly enveloped the entire void and slapped towards the demonic ghost emperor. The ghost chi of the netherworld was vast and mighty. A terrifying power came down from the ghost hand of the netherworld. Although it had not really slapped down, the power fluctuation from the ghost hand of the netherworld shocked the demonic ghost emperor. Since the other party dared to wantonly wage war in the dark ghost realm, how could it be possible that he did not possess some ability? Roar! The demonic ghost emperor roared at the sky. He did not dodge. An extremely powerful ghost Tao power erupted from his body. He opened his mouth, and a blue ghost fire immediately rushed out from his mouth, burning towards the ghost hand of the netherworld that was slapping down from the sky. This was a wisp of ghostly fire born from the Ghost Emperor's Ghost Tao Source energy. It was one of the Ghost Emperor's trump cards. This wisp of ghostly fire was extremely terrifying. As long as a person was touched by a wisp of it, they would be burned to ashes. The blue ghost fire instantly collided with the ghost hand of the netherworld that was descending from the sky. Bang! The blue ghost fire exploded and instantly enveloped the huge hand, burning it until it became blurry. Very soon, it disappeared in the void. This, the Emperor of the Netherworld, could not help but be shocked at this scene. This Ghost Emperor was very powerful. His cultivation was definitely not lower than his own. He could not help but be careful. Kill. The demonic Ghost Emperor directly attacked the Emperor of the Netherworld. The blue ghost fire covered the sky and the earth as it rushed towards the Emperor of the Netherworld. Wherever the ghost fire passed, the void was silently annihilated. The Emperor of the Netherworld hurriedly retreated. At the same time, a crescent blade of light flew out from his body and slashed down. This was a divine saber that was only a foot long. It was wrapped in a ball of cold and fierce divine light, and it forcibly broke through the layers of ghostly blue flames, slashing toward the fiend god Ghost Emperor. What? The Ghost Emperor was shocked. The other party had actually refined a great killing weapon. A fierce and ruthless aura spread out from the curved moon deities, causing one's heart to palpitate. Just as the crescent moon divine blade was about to strike the ghost god demon emperor, a ball of white light rushed out of the ghost god demon emperor's body to meet the incoming divine blade. What is that? The Emperor of the Netherworld stared at the ball of white light. Very soon, he discovered that there was a bone bead wrapped in the white light. The bone bead was imprinted with great path divine patterns. Buzz. When the bone bead and the curved moon deity's blade collided with each other, there was no loud sound, but the surrounding void let out a tremor. Then the curved moon deity's blade was knocked away by the power emitted from the bone bead, and the bone bead was also sent flying hundreds of feet away by the curved moon deity's blade, a divine item of the great ability level. The Emperor of the Netherworld waved his hand, and the curved moon deity's blade immediately flew back to him, hovering and dancing around him. He cultivated a ghost body. Without a flesh body, he could not grab a divine weapon. He could only use the powerful Ghost Emperor's will to control the curved moon deity's blade to attack the enemy. Swoosh! The white light flashed, wrapped in the bone bead, and flew back to the Ghost Emperor. Then it floated above the Ghost Emperor's head, emitting a mysterious and powerful aura. Kill! Kill! The two great cultivators shouted almost at the same time, and then rushed toward each other. Their cultivation was almost the same, and they were evenly matched. A fierce battle broke out. Countless ferocious souls and ghosts under the Emperor of the Netherworld hid far away. They could no longer intervene in a battle of this level, and could only be bystanders. Just when the Emperor of the Netherworld and the Ghost Emperor were fighting, the undead Emperor had already won. There was not much origin power left in the decaying corpse, and it could not withstand the consumption. Rumble, a black sun fell from the sky, crushing the void between heaven and earth, emitting a terrifying wave of destruction. It directly smashed the huge figure that emerged from the decaying corpse. Bang! At the same time, the decaying corpse's body exploded. Without the origin power to suppress the corrosive power in the decaying corpse, the body of the decaying corpse finally could not bear it anymore. A faint and illusory soul shadow flew out from the corpse, trying to escape. Where do you think you're going? As he spoke, the undead Emperor opened his mouth and sucked in the soul shadow. A heaven-devouring power spread out from his mouth, and the soul shadow flew toward the undead Emperor involuntarily. No, the soul shadow was really shocked. It desperately used a great technique, and a mass of divine light emerged from the soul shadow, illuminating the surrounding darkness. Countless patterns of the way emerged on the soul shadow and then intertwined. The soul shadow attracted the power of the great path, and divine chains of the great path rushed out from the divine light, entangling the undead emperor. A last-ditch struggle. The undying corpse emperor had an extremely strong physical body. He allowed the divine chains of the great path to wrap around his body. Then he suddenly struggled with all his might, and a dozen or so divine chains immediately broke. Then the undead corpse emperor swallowed the soul shadow into his stomach. A powerful ghost cultivator was swallowed by the undead emperor just like that. If anyone saw this scene, they would be extremely shocked. After all, that was a powerful existence. After the undying corpse emperor swallowed the Een soul, the black divine sun descended from the sky and entered the top of his head. The expedition continued. The undead emperor led his evil corpse army and killed their way forward. Wherever they passed, there were no more powerful existences that jumped out. He led the evil corpse army and killed his way through thousands of miles to the edge of this world. The dark ghost realm was very vast. This should have been a small world, but it had become a ghost domain. No one knew the various reasons. 2 of the 3 armies of the undead had already completed their tasks, and only the Emperor of the Underworld had not completed his task. He had encountered an extremely powerful opponent, Buzz. Just as the Emperor of the Underworld was fighting against the Demon Emperor, a rumbling sound came from the depths of this world. Gu Fei, who was sitting in front of the mountain and river cauldron, suddenly opened his eyes. There was a powerful wave coming from the depths of the divine palace, as if something was about to be born. Chapter 21-29. A strange fluctuation came from the depths of the divine palace, which shocked Gu Fei. He seemed to have missed something. Swoosh! Gu Fei strode forward and disappeared in front of the mountain and river cauldron. He entered the depths of the divine palace ruins and sensed an aura that made his heart palpitate. The ruins of the divine palace occupied a large area, with palaces stretching for hundreds of miles. It was hard to imagine what it was like when the divine palace was intact. Could it be the remains of an incomparably prosperous divine dynasty? In ancient times, there were many extremely powerful divine dynasties. On the ancestral star of Buzhou, there was the Purple Cloud divine dynasty, founded by the Purple Cloud Supreme. Under the leadership of the Purple Cloud Supreme, the Purple Cloud divine dynasty not only unified the entire ancestral star of Buzhou, but also extended its influence to another ancestral star of Buzhou. In ancient times, on the ancestral star of Kunlun, there was also the ancient heavenly court founded by the demon clan, which controlled the endless firmament heaven realm. There might have been an extremely powerful divine dynasty on this burial sky star, but when the Great Tribulation came, the divine dynasty fell apart and was destroyed. That is, when Gu Fei arrived at the central area of the divine dynasty, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. There were huge bones erected around the central area of the divine dynasty. Those bones were stabbed into the ground, surrounding an area with a radius of dozens of miles in the central area of the divine dynasty. Gu Fei looked carefully and soon found that it was a human skeleton that had been dismembered. A thigh bone that was thousands of feet tall stood in front of him. It was hard to imagine that there was such a huge human skeleton in this world. Could it be the skeleton of the innate divine beings of ancient times? The innate divine beings of ancient times were incomparably strong, with huge bodies and supreme physiques. They were experts of the ancient mythological era. Gu Fei sensed a wisp of the aura of a supreme being from those huge bones, which shocked him to the extreme. The skeleton of a supreme being was actually dismembered. This was truly unimaginable. One should know that the corpse of a sovereign being was not something that just anyone could approach. Even if a sovereign being was dead, the aura of a sovereign being emitted from his corpse could still shock the heavens. Even saints would find it difficult to approach the corpse unless they were existences of the same level. Only then would they be able to approach the corpse. A formation. Gu Fei did not get close and only watched from afar. The more he looked, the more shocked he became. It was actually a formation a suppression formation laid out by the bones of a supreme being. Perhaps only a supreme being could use such a formation. Even a saint would not be able to get close to the corpse of a supreme being, let alone dismembered it and spirit. The supreme being's bone still contained the sovereign's indestructible Tao patterns. Even after countless years of corrosion, the sovereign's Tao patterns still wouldn't disappear. What's sealed inside? Gu Fei muttered to himself, using the bones of a supreme being to lay out a formation. The thing sealed in the center of the divine palace was definitely something extraordinary. Otherwise, why would they need to use the bones of a supreme being? He did not act blindly without thinking. Although he was curious, the formation in front of him was definitely not an ordinary formation. This was definitely a supreme formation of the supreme being level. Even if a saint entered, he would most likely die. Bang! Just when Gu Fei was about to retreat, a muffled sound rang out from the area surrounded by the bones of a supreme being. He could feel the tremors coming from beneath his feet. Bang! Another muffled sound rang out, causing Gu Fei to be indescribably shocked. Could it be that the thing sealed in this ancient formation was still alive? It was hard to imagine. One should know that this divine palace had existed for a long time. It was very possible that it was a remnant of a divine dynasty during the Desolate Era. In other words, the thing sealed in the ancient formation was at least something from the Desolate Era. It was impossible for it to be something that appeared after the Desolate Era. The Supreme Being had fallen, and his remains were used by someone to lay down a formation that sealed an unknown creature. Yet, after being sealed for countless years, the unknown creature actually did not die. Buzz. The air trembled. Countless golden patterns appeared on the ground within a radius of 10 miles. It was like a huge golden net that covered the entire land. The power of the bones of a supreme being was awakening. Then it was guided by the formation and converged towards the place where it was sealed. Roar! A muffled roar came from beneath the ground. This, Gu Fei was shocked. The unknown creature sealed under the ground really did not die. It seemed to still be struggling and trying to break out of the formation. How was this possible? An hour later, the formation in front of him completely calmed down. Gu Fei immediately retreated and returned to where the cauldron of mountain and river was. Then he sat in front of the cauldron and continued to observe the skull of a supreme being. Could it be? A thought flashed through Gu Fei's mind. He was extremely shocked. Could this supreme being bone and the other bones that were used to lay down the formation belong to the same supreme being? If it's true, why would that person lay down the formation in such a manner? Using the skull of a supreme being to collect countless lives, and using other supreme being bones to seal an unknown creature. Gu Fei felt like he had thought of something, but he could not figure out what it was. Just what am I missing? Gu Fei shook his head. He could not figure it out. At this moment, the skull of a supreme being inside the cauldron of mountain and river changed again. On the forehead of the supreme being bone, a soul seal appeared. The supreme being is not dead. How is this possible? Seeing this, Gu Fei was extremely shocked. The flame-like seal on the supreme being bone was the seal of life, also known as the soul seal. As long as the soul seal was not destroyed, the soul of the supreme being would not dissipate. It can be resurrected even after death. This is too heaven-defying. Gu Fei's expression changed. If it was really the resurrection of a supreme being, then it would be terrible. One should know that if a supreme being were to be resurrected, the entire human realm would not know what would happen. Should I suppress it? Gu Fei muttered to himself. He stared at the supreme being bone inside the cauldron of mountain and river. He quickly discovered that the flame seal on the supreme being bone didn't emit any soul ripples. What's going on? The soul seal has reappeared, but there are no soul ripples. Gu Fei was confused. He could not imagine what was going on. One should know that supreme beings all had heaven-defying methods that were hard to understand. What happened on the Supreme Being Bone had already surpassed Gu Fei's understanding. At this moment, the fluctuation of the life seal inside the Supreme Being Bone became stronger and stronger. It was as if a terrifying heavenly beast was about to be born. Endless life imprints would form a supreme life imprint. Gu Fei really wanted to know the process of this evolution. This seemed to be a method of evolution. He could use it as a reference, but he could not imitate it. Chapter 2130. A life imprint appeared on the Supreme Being's skull, but there was no soul fluctuation. Gu Fei didn't understand. This was beyond his understanding. However, things regarding Supreme Beings couldn't be analyzed with common sense, because once one reached this realm, they would have broken all shackles and become the strongest in the world. Inside the mountain and river cauldron, the life imprints inside the Supreme Being's skull were still evolving. Most of the life imprints had already been devoured by the stronger ones. Buzz! The space inside the Supreme Being's skull was shaking. It was like a world of its own. Countless silhouettes were fighting for their lives. The life imprints that could survive until now were all extremely powerful. Even the life imprints of the three great figures in the ghost realm had been devoured by other stronger and more ancient life imprints. Those life imprints showed the glory of their masters. The faint silhouettes were releasing their final radiance. Bang! A serpent-like silhouette directly smashed an ape-like silhouette. The ape-like silhouette turned into specks of life light and was devoured by the serpent-like silhouette. After the serpent-like silhouette devoured the ape's life imprint, the life ripples emitted by the serpent-like silhouette became even stronger. Swish! The serpent-like silhouette then fought against the life imprint of a divine devil. The faint silhouette of a divine devil emitted an extremely powerful life ripple. A great battle erupted. In the end, the divine devil's life imprint destroyed the serpent-like silhouette and devoured its life essence, turning it into its own nourishment. Kill! A powerful soul ripple spread out from the divine devil's life imprint. The divine devil went back into the battle. At this time, only by devouring the opponent's life imprint could it survive. Otherwise, it would completely disappear. This kind of battle was even more dangerous and terrifying than a real battle. One should know that the loser would completely disappear from the world. They wouldn't even be able to become ghosts, because once the life imprint dissipated, they couldn't return to the heavenly Tao. They couldn't be reborn. Gu Fei concentrated on observing the situation inside the Supreme Being's skull. This kind of life evolution was too extreme. However, he had to admit that this was a shortcut to make his life imprint stronger. Rumble! After more than a dozen hours of fighting, the countless life imprints in the Supreme Being's skull disappeared and were replaced by 10 imprints that emitted shocking life fluctuations. Each of these 10 marks was like a dazzling sun that emitted boundless divine light of life. It was as if they could be reborn in an instant if they wanted to. Seeing this, Gu Fei's heart trembled. If he could devour these 10 life imprints, wouldn't his cultivation rise to the next level? Moreover, he hadn't collected these life imprints by slaughtering billions of living beings. Godly snatch! Without hesitation, Gu Fei cast one of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao, the godly snatch secret technique, and split out a strand of divine sense. A faint and illusory figure immediately walked out of his mud-pill palace and rushed into the mountain and river cauldron. Shwa! Gu Fei's spiritual force entered the paragon skull as if he himself had truly descended upon it. This is after the clone formed from Gu Fei's spiritual will entered the Supreme Being's skull. He was immediately stunned by what he sensed. The inside of the Supreme Being's skull was truly a boundless world. The 10 life imprints were like 10 suns that floated in the sky, illuminating the world as if it was daytime. Terrifying fluctuations spread in all directions. The 10 divine suns were like 10 supreme beings appearing in this part of the world. Kill! When Gu Fei's spiritual will entered the world, The sun closest to him exploded with a peerless, murderous intent and enveloped him with a strand of divine sense. Kill. Without any hesitation, Gu Fei shot into the sky and attacked the sun. It was an extremely powerful life imprint. He went all out from the get-go without any hesitation. Rumble, the divine sun in the sky moved, descending from the sky, shaking the world. A majestic figure appeared above the divine sun. It was a blurry man. Boom! The two experts collided. Although they weren't fighting with their true bodies, it was still extremely intense. It was even more intense and dangerous than a battle with their true bodies. Although Gu Fei didn't enter the Supreme Being's skull with his true body, if his spiritual avatar was destroyed, he would also be affected. Buzz. With a sword hum, Gu Fei's spiritual avatar transformed into a shocking sword that slashed forward. There weren't many techniques that could be used by an avatar. It was different from fighting with his true body. Swoosh! Wherever the sword light passed, the endless divine light was destroyed. The blurry man was sent flying. The life imprint suffered a great impact, which made him very worried. The primordial spirit sword was the nemesis of such an existence. It was born to restrain this most primitive existence. Roar! Sensing that his life was in danger, the imprint of life emitted a shocking wave of soul energy. Then, 9 giant dragons appeared in the sky. The 9 dragons exploded with terrifying waves. They rushed towards the primordial spirit sword that Gu Fei had transformed into. Their huge dragon claws grabbed at the primordial spirit sword. However, even if the man used the ultimate life slayer technique, it would be difficult for him to resist the primordial spirit sword. The divine sword vibrated. Sword light flashed, and one of the dragons was immediately cut in half. Then it dissipated in the void. The 9 dragons' technique had been broken. The remaining 8 dragons were also destroyed by the primordial spirit sword. In the end, the primordial spirit sword broke through the layers of spiritual power and nailed the blurry man high in the sky. I can't accept this! The indistinct man's life imprint immediately dissipated. The vast life force was quickly devoured by Gu Fei's spiritual avatar. A powerful figure appeared in this part of the world. It was as if Gu Fei's true body had descended. Roar! Gu Fei roared into the sky. The entire world shook. His shocking aura spread in all directions. The remaining 9 suns felt a great threat. Kill! Gu Fei rushed into the sky. He was incomparably powerful. He actually attacked the 9 suns in the sky. His battle intent was endless. He pressed forward with an indomitable will. He gave off an invincible aura. The battle erupted. The 9 suns turned into 9 terrifying figures that attacked Gu Fei. This battle was extremely fierce. Gu Fei's spiritual avatar was scattered several times. If he had not cultivated the levitation secret technique, this spiritual avatar would have been destroyed by the 9 figures. 2 of the 9 terrifying figures were severely injured by Gu Fei's spiritual avatar. They had to temporarily retreat from the battle. Chapter 2131. Kill. After Gu Fei's avatar devoured most of the essence of the second life imprint, its combat power rose to an unimaginable level. It transformed into a primordial soul Tao sword and moved freely in the sky and on the ground, forcing the 6 powerful figures to constantly retreat. It's indeed a shortcut to rapidly increase my cultivation and strength. In front of the mountain and river cauldron, Gu Fei could sense the state of his avatar in the Supreme Being's skull. He couldn't help but feel excited. If he could devour all the essence of the life imprint in the Supreme Being's skull, his strength would also be greatly enhanced. It would also accumulate a deep foundation for the future sage tribulation. Buzz. In the Supreme Being's skull, the mighty sword Qi of the primordial soul Tao sword enveloped the 6 figures. Gu Fei actually wanted to destroy the 6 life imprints at the same time. The 6 life imprints seemed to sense the danger and actually joined forces to attack Gu Fei. Rumble, peerless power erupted. The power of the 6 incomparably powerful life imprints gathered together. Even the avatar of a true sage would have to retreat. The primordial spirit, Tao Sword, was sent flying. This force wasn't something that Gu Fei's avatar could resist. Even after devouring a vast amount of life force, it still wasn't enough. I miscalculated. Gu Fei's avatar was directly forced out of the state of the primordial soul Tao Sword. This was definitely not a good thing for Gu Fei's avatar. Kill. The 6 life imprints transformed into terrifying figures and attacked Gu Fei's avatar at the same time. The murderous aura was earth-shattering, and the entire world inside the Supreme Being's skull was shaking. At this time, the 2 seriously injured life imprints also pressed towards Gu Fei again. The soul light emitted from the life imprints was as dazzling as the divine sun, making it hard for people to look directly at it. Humph! Gu Fei's avatar used the Heaven Ascension mystic technique, and its combat power instantly increased by several times. The powerful fluctuations forced the 8 figures to stop and be careful. In the end, Gu Fei's avatar forced the enemies to retreat and retreated to a small corner inside the Supreme Being's skull, confronting the powerful figures. Looks like it won't be easy to completely devour those life imprints. Gu Fei muttered to himself as he sat cross-legged in front of the mountain and river cauldron. The 10 life imprints were all extremely powerful and extraordinary. His avatar had been able to cut off 2 of the major life imprints because they were much weaker than the other life imprints. The remaining 8 life imprints were all extremely ancient life imprints. It was unknown how many years they had existed, but they still hadn't dissipated. This kind of ancient life imprint was very powerful and difficult to dissipate. However, Gu Fei also knew that he could not be impatient, because if he was not careful, his avatar in the Supreme Being Bone would also be in danger of being devoured by the power of other life imprints. Rumble! At this time, a strange sound came from the depths of the Divine Palace. The unknown existence that was sealed in the depths of the Divine Palace was attacking the seal again. How could the super seal laid down by the Paragon Bone be so easily broken? Gu Fei was not worried that the existence sealed in the depths of the Divine Palace would jump out. At this time, a strange fluctuation came from outside the Divine Palace. A group of skeletal undead rushed in from afar and quickly arrived in front of Gu Fei. "Greetings, my lord." The undying skeleton emperor led a group of subordinates and bowed to Gu Fei. "Get up. Who is this little guy?" Gu Fei saw that there was a 3-meter-tall divine crocodile standing beside the undying skeleton emperor. What really interested Gu Fei was that the divine crocodile's body showed signs of rebirth. "You are the master of the skeleton emperor." Before the undying skeleton emperor could speak, the divine crocodile spoke first. "You're not bad, little guy. You actually want to reverse life and death and rebirth your flesh." Gu Fei looked at the divine crocodile seriously and couldn't help but secretly nod. This divine crocodile was an undead creature with great willpower. No wonder the undying skeleton emperor looked at it differently. "I heard that you have a secret method to reverse life and death." The god crocodile was very direct. It wanted to be reborn. It had touched the threshold, but it did not know how to cross it. "It's not difficult to reverse life and death." Gu Fei nodded. Regenerating flesh and blood was not a difficult task for him. As long as he asked the ancestral dragon Immortal Herb for a drop of blood essence, he would be able to regenerate the flesh and blood of an undying creature. Even without the immortal ancestral medicine's blood, Gu Fei had a way to rebirth an undead creature, but he needed the mountain and river cauldron. However, no matter what method he used, it didn't seem worth using on this divine crocodile. He didn't want to waste so much effort on someone else. Reversing life and death and rebirth was not a small matter. Really, after getting a positive answer, the divine crocodile was very excited. However, What Gu Fei said next was like pouring a bucket of cold water on its head. But I won't help you reverse life and death. Gu Fei knew what the divine crocodile wanted, but it wasn't worth it for him to help because this divine crocodile wasn't his subordinate. I'm willing to submit. The divine crocodile hurriedly knelt on the ground. But how do I know if you're sincere about submitting? Gu Fei said calmly. Although this divine crocodile was strong, it was nothing in front of him. One should know that even a great completion quasi-sage wasn't a match for him. This divine crocodile was only at the pinnacle of the almighty level. I'm willing to make a spiritual soul oath. If I betray my master, my body and soul will be destroyed, and I won't have a good death. The divine crocodile said, Very well, then you can follow the skeleton emperor. Gu Fei said and ignored the divine crocodile. He turned to the undying skeleton emperor and said, How's it going? Master, in the entire ghost world, except for the territory that the emperor of the netherworld is in charge of, we've already conquered the other territories. The undying skeleton emperor said, What's going on with the emperor of the netherworld? He's met his match. Gu Fei mumbled to himself, and the others didn't dare to make a sound. Bring this little guy to have a look. If the emperor of the netherworld can't handle it, you can help him. Gu Fei thought for a while and said to the undying skeleton emperor, Yes. After the undying skeleton emperor received the order, he brought the divine crocodile and the other undying skeleton soldiers and left quickly. Soon, they disappeared in the dark world. The ghost world was so big, it wasn't strange for there to be a few experts hiding. Since the emperor of the netherworld still hadn't completed his mission, he must have met with some trouble. At this time, the battle between the emperor of the netherworld and the ghost god and demon emperor had reached the climax. All kinds of great techniques were used continuously, and the void between heaven and earth was constantly broken. Soon, the undying skeleton emperor arrived nearby with a group of subordinates. That old ghost of the netherworld has really met his match. Chapter 2132. Netherworld Old Ghost, do you need help? The undying skeleton emperor said to the netherworld emperor, Why are you here? The netherworld emperor was surprised to see the undying skeleton emperor here. He did not expect the undying skeleton emperor to finish the task so quickly. Bang! The ghost emperor took advantage of the moment when the netherworld emperor was distracted and sent him flying thousands of meters away with a palm. The ghost emperor's body became blurry. How dare you! The emperor of the netherworld was both shocked and furious. This demon god ghost emperor was too powerful. Its cultivation was on par with his. It would not be easy to defeat this ghost emperor. Humph, you want to fight me together? The ghost emperor was shocked when he saw the helpers. He was even more shocked when he saw the godly crocodile next to the undying skeleton emperor. I did not expect you to subdue this crazy crocodile. The ghost emperor seemed to know the origin of the godly crocodile. You old ghost, be careful of your words. The godly crocodile was unhappy. He was not subdued by the undying skeleton emperor, but he voluntarily submitted to the master of the undying skeleton emperor. The ghost emperor's words made him angry. What? You want to fight? The ghost emperor was very strong. He stared at the godly crocodile and released a strong murderous intent. It seemed that there was a feud between him and the godly crocodile. You think I'm afraid of you? The godly crocodile walked forward immediately. It walked on two legs like a human. Its bone body released a strong wave of soul power. A soul fire jumped in its skull, shining with bright soul light. It's mine. At this time, the netherworld emperor rushed over again. You too, come at me together. The ghost emperor glanced at the godly crocodile and the netherworld emperor. The ghost chi on his body was vast and mighty, giving people a feeling of arrogance. It seemed that he did not take the netherworld emperor and the godly crocodile seriously at all. How arrogant! The undying skeleton emperor sneered when he saw that the ghost emperor wanted to fight the netherworld emperor and the godly crocodile at the same time. I can kill you myself. You newcomer, don't interfere. Emperor of the underworld said to the divine crocodile. He had never seen this divine crocodile before. It should be a new subordinate of the undying skeleton emperor in the dark ghost realm. You, hearing this, godly crocodile was a little unhappy. Crocodile monarch, don't interfere. At this time, the undying skeleton emperor spoke. If it didn't say anything, these two fellows would probably start fighting first, and that wouldn't be a good thing. The divine crocodile glanced at the undying skeleton emperor and retreated. Looks like I won't be able to deal with you without using my trump card. Seeing that the divine crocodile retreated, the emperor of the underworld faced the divine demon ghost emperor. Both ghost emperors did not underestimate their opponents, especially the divine demon ghost emperor. As the saying went, only a ferocious dragon would cross the river. Since the other party dared to fight in the dark ghost realm, they definitely had something to rely on. Bring it on. The demon god ghost emperor stared at the emperor of the netherworld and said in a deep voice, "Kill." The emperor of the underworld didn't say anything more. He directly turned into a phantom and pounced on the divine demon ghost emperor. He seemed to have merged with the surrounding void in an instant, and the whole ghost emperor body became faint and unreal. Then, the faint, ghostly figure suddenly split into a dozen or so phantoms. Each of the phantoms gave off an extremely powerful wave, and each of the phantoms seemed like the real body of the emperor of the netherworld. The divine demon ghost emperor was taken aback. They had been fighting for so long, but the other party didn't display such a great skill. Could this be the other party's trump card? If the old ghost, netherworld, fights desperately, even I have to retreat. The undying skeleton emperor said, "This guy is really that strong." The divine crocodile was shocked when it heard this. It had already learned from the undying skeleton emperor that there were 3 immortal emperors under his lord. In addition to the emperor of the underworld, there was also the undying corpse emperor. The 3 immortal emperors had followed his lord for a long time, and they were his lord's trusted subordinates. The divine crocodile knew that it had just submitted to his lord. It was absolutely impossible for his lord to trust it like the 3 immortal emperors. It knew that what it needed to do now was to gain his lord's trust. The divine crocodile was an immortal creature with great perseverance. It was not easy to reverse life and death. An immortal creature without great perseverance would never walk on this path. Rumble, the emperor of the underworld, turned into 10 phantoms and fought against the divine demon ghost emperor. The powerful ghost Tao power shook the earth, and the destructive power instantly enveloped the divine demon ghost emperor. Roar! The divine demon ghost emperor roared continuously. He was in big trouble. The other party had gone all out, and the combat power he displayed was much more powerful and terrifying than before. Bang! A figure flew out horizontally. Die! The emperor of the underworld roared, and the 10 phantoms instantly merged together. He then waved his hand, and a black whip immediately flew out from his hand, entangling the figure that flew out. Swoosh! The black whip instantly caught up with the divine demon ghost emperor and entangled him. What is this? A saint-level ghost artifact? Impossible. The divine demon ghost emperor was terrified. He was entangled by the black whip in the emperor of the underworld's hand, and he could not break free. Moreover, the black whip kept tightening, and there were runes emerging on the black whip. A powerful devouring power was emitted from the black whip, and it was actually devouring the ghost Tao power of the divine demon ghost emperor. Roar! The divine demon ghost emperor kept roaring, and his voice was filled with fear. The opponent's black whip was too terrifying, and it could actually devour his power. In just a short while, a small part of the ghost Tao power in his body had been devoured by the black whip. At this rate, the ghost Tao power in his body would soon be drained by the black whip. At that time, the divine demon ghost emperor's soul would be destroyed, even without the emperor of the underworld help. However, the Emperor of the Underworld could not wait that long. He directly attacked and pressed his right hand towards the divine demon ghost emperor. In his palm, there was a pitch-black lightning indistinctly appearing. Gloomy thunder hand. Seeing the Emperor of the Underworld's move, the undying skeleton emperor could not help but be shocked. This Emperor of the Underworld has really mastered the gloomy thunder hand. Rumble. The Emperor of the Underworld's right hand slapped on the divine demon ghost emperor's body. Immediately, there was a dull sound of thunder, and then pitch-black lightning emerged from the ghost demon ghost emperor's body. Bang! Chapter 2133. After the Emperor of the Netherworld killed the Empress of the gods and demons, he continued to lead his army forward. This time, there were no more powerful opponents in the path of the Netherworld army. The three undying emperors eventually swept through the entire dark ghost realm and took control of the Haitian land. Then, the three undying emperors started to lead the army to search for the source of heaven and earth. It should be known that every world had a source of heaven and earth that supported it. The source of heaven and earth was the core of the world. A world without a source would not exist for long. Even a world created with great magic power would collapse quickly without the support of the source. However, the three undying emperors couldn't find the source of heaven and earth, even though they turned the entire dark ghost realm upside down. It seems like the source of heaven and earth should be in this divine palace. Gu Fei muttered to himself. It didn't matter to him whether he could find the source of heaven and earth or not. His inner world had already grown big enough. Ever since he refined the ancestral court of Central Prefecture into his inner world, his divine land had expanded by a third. Gu Fei's inner world was currently transforming into a complete great world. The current divine land had a radius of 10,000 miles. This kind of territory was comparable to a small continent. However, this dark ghost realm was filled with an aura of death, which was poles apart from his divine land that was full of vitality. If he were to refine such a world into his inner world, a great disaster might occur. I will reward this world to whoever can find the source of heaven and earth. Gu Fei made such a promise. What? This? The three undying emperors were extremely excited when they heard this. The reward was so great that they almost went crazy. It should be known that the dark ghost realm was the most suitable place for ghost Dao experts to cultivate. If they could control this ghost realm, they would definitely be able to improve their strength greatly. Search. Find the source of heaven and earth, even if you have to dig a kilometer underground. Without any hesitation, the three undead horses began to move. Even the celestial crocodile that had just surrendered to Gu Fei was excited as if it had been injected with chicken blood. Master is really generous. He actually casually bestowed a world to his subordinates. The godly crocodile was secretly shocked. His master was unfathomable, especially his cauldron, which made him feel extremely dangerous. Everyone began to move. The silence of the entire divine palace ruins was completely broken. Just as the three undying emperors and the divine crocodile were searching for the origin source of heaven and earth, a huge change took place on the ancient sky burial star. The darkness had shrouded the entire ancient sky burial star for several days, and there were still no signs of it receding. This made Gu Zhong and the others who were training on the ancient sky burial star feel uneasy. Buzz. On the fifth day, the teleportation array in the ancient city suddenly lit up. The void above the teleportation array vibrated, and ripples visible to the naked eye spread out in all directions. At this time, everyone had just returned to the ancient city. In the past few days, they had discovered that the number of ghosts in the darkness outside the city seemed to have decreased a lot, and the powerful ghosts seemed to have disappeared. Everyone had vaguely guessed that this was probably the work of Gu Fei. Gu Zhong knew that his master had left the ancient city to search for the nest of the ghosts on this ancient planet. Moreover, his master might have already found the nest. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken such a long time to return. Rumble! The void above the teleportation array vibrated, and a figure that looked like a golden sun walked out of the void. The powerful metal elemental power was vast and mighty, and it was so oppressive that everyone almost couldn't breathe. The Golden Goddess. Everyone was shocked when they saw this figure. The Golden Goddess had been chasing behind them, but she had only just arrived at this ancient planet. Guzhong and the others saw that many parts of the divine armor on the Golden Goddess's body were broken. It was obvious that the Golden Goddess had encountered a powerful opponent on her way here. The Golden Goddess walked down the teleportation array platform, and the dazzling golden light on her body began to converge. In the end, it completely disappeared into her body, and the oppressive aura also disappeared. This place, the Golden Goddess wasn't surprised to see Guzhong and the others, because Guzhong and the others were walking in front of her. It wasn't strange to see them. What really shocked the Golden Goddess was the endless darkness outside the ancient city. There seemed to be a powerful existence hiding in the darkness, which made her very uneasy. I didn't expect the Golden Goddess to come here so quickly. Did you encounter a powerful enemy on your way here? Guzhong smiled and walked forward. Where's your master? The Golden Goddess glanced at everyone and asked indifferently. Naturally, she wasn't afraid that Gu Fei would secretly attack her because Gu Fei wouldn't use such a method to deal with her. My master said that he would leave for a few days. I think he will be back soon, answered Guzhong. He wasn't afraid that the Golden Goddess would attack them either. After all, they still had Tieshua Taoist, a great accomplishment quasi-sage, on their side. Although Tieshua Taoist might not be a match for the Golden Goddess, he was still very terrifying when he risked his life. He left you here. Didn't he know that I would catch up to him? The Golden Goddess looked at Guzhong, and her voice suddenly became cold. Everyone's expression changed when they heard this. The 12 bandits stared at the Golden Goddess and became cautious. Even Tieshua Taoist couldn't help but be moved. The atmosphere in the ancient city suddenly became somewhat oppressive. Hee, I say, Your Excellency, don't scare us. We are all very timid. After a moment of silence, Guzhong broke the silence in the ancient city and smiled at the Golden Goddess. He knew that if the Golden Goddess wanted to attack them, she wouldn't have spoken to them. The Golden Goddess had some misgivings. Her misgivings were naturally her master. You are timid, but I think you are the most courageous. Aren't you afraid that I will really kill you? The Golden Goddess stared at Guzhong. She was wearing a golden mask, so no one could see her current expression. Hee, your opponent is my master. It doesn't seem to be beneficial for you to attack us. Guzhong was still smiling. He didn't sense any killing intent from the Golden Goddess. Humph! The Golden Goddess snorted coldly and no longer paid attention to them. She soared into the sky and disappeared into the darkness outside the ancient city. Chapter 2134. The arrival of the Golden Goddess made Guzhong and the others in the ancient city feel uneasy. No one knew if the Golden Goddess would attack them. This was a threat. Moreover, there should be many more people who had set foot on the ancient road of the Buzhou human race that would arrive one after another. Those people might not be as easy to talk to as the Golden Goddess. After all, Gu Fei had many enemies on the ancestral Buzhou star. 1 or 2 antiques would be enough to make them suffer. As the Golden Goddess arrived, unimaginable changes were taking place in the dark ghost realm where Gu Fei was located. The unknown life form that had been suppressed by the super seal in the depths of the Divine Palace was constantly attacking the seal. The number of times it attacked the seal was getting more and more frequent. Even the power of the super seal was unable to completely suppress the aura of the unknown life form. What shocked Gu Fei was that the aura that the unknown life form emitted from the super seal was actually somewhat similar to the aura of the Supreme Being Bone. Gu Fei seemed to have thought of something, but he wasn't sure. After a few days, Gu Fei's avatar within the Supreme Being Bone within the mountain river cauldron was still fighting against the powerful life imprints. In the process of fighting, he had slashed another life imprint and devoured more than half of the imprint's power. Gu Fei's clone actually showed signs of turning into a physical entity after devouring so much life energy. This shocked him greatly. Devouring life imprints could reverse life and death and allow flesh and blood to be reborn. The profoundness of life was really difficult to understand. Even with Gu Fei's current cultivation, he still couldn't fully understand it. Life was perhaps the most mysterious existence in the world. There were still 7 life imprints left in the Supreme Being Bone that were confronting Gu Fei's clone. Even though Gu Fei had mastered the 9 secrets of the immortal path, it was still difficult for him to destroy the 7 life imprints in a short period of time because the remaining 7 life imprints were too powerful. Just as Gu Fei was thinking about how to destroy the life imprints in the Supreme Being Bone, there was a drastic change in the Divine Palace. The 3 immortal emperors and the others searched the Divine Palace and finally dug out a demonic well. The moment the seal of the demonic well was broken, endless demonic energy soared into the sky, and dozens of undying creatures nearby were instantly demonized and turned into hideous monsters. The 3 undying emperors hurriedly led their subordinates and retreated far away. Demon. The moment the demonic well appeared, Gu Fei stood up from the ground. There were still traces of demons in the dark ghost realm. This made Gu Fei's heart go cold. Could it be that the devil race was everywhere? Shua. He took a step forward and entered a certain area of the Divine Palace. He saw demonic qi rising in front of him, which had already enveloped an area of dozens of miles. Roar. Demons were faintly discernible in the midst of the demonic qi. They were roaring, and their voices caused one's hair to stand on end. Those were the demonized, undying creatures that had already turned into terrifying demons. Master, seeing Gu Fei appear, the 3 undying emperors and the divine crocodile hurried over to greet him. What's going on? Gu Fei couldn't help but frown as he looked at the demonic qi that was still spreading in all directions. He could sense an incomparably powerful demonic energy condensing. We don't know either. It seems like some kind of seal has been broken, said the undying skeleton emperor. The undying skeleton emperor said. This time, it was his subordinates who caused trouble. Just as the demonic well appeared on the ancient sky burial star, a figure that was emitting a faint golden light came to the entrance of the dark ghost realm. What's going on? There's actually a fluctuation of demonic energy inside, the golden goddess muttered to herself. She was looking at the pitch-black whirlpool in front of her. She was very careful, as she didn't want to enter an unknown place rashly, because no one knew what was inside the pitch-black whirlpool. Humans. There are still humans on the star. At this moment, a weak divine sense was transmitted from the demonic well in the Divine Palace. A wave of demonic energy began to spread in all directions from the demonic well. It's another guy who hasn't died after being sealed for countless years. Gu Fei muttered to himself. His eyes emitted a dazzling divine light. A powerful battle intent spread from his body, and chaotic spiritual qi surged in his body. The 3 undying emperors standing next to Gu Fei could feel the extremely powerful pressure from Gu Fei. They almost couldn't stand up straight. They were all extremely shocked. This is the true strength of our master, especially the divine crocodile. At this moment, it realized how powerful and terrifying Gu Fei was. In front of Gu Fei, it was actually not much stronger than an ant. Human, you've angered me. A divine sense fluctuation was transmitted from the demonic well. TCH, I'm not just angering you. I'm going to kill you. Gu Fei said disdainfully. It was just a great demon that hadn't died yet. There was nothing to be afraid of. Such an existence could no longer threaten him. Human, you're courting death. The existence in the demonic, well, seemed to be completely enraged by Gu Fei. Then, 3 demonic shadows rushed out of the demonic qi and directly pounced on Gu Fei. Gu Fei stood in the void. When he saw the 3 demonic shadows, he couldn't help but frown. They were 3 undying emperors that had been demonized. The originally sparkling white bones had already turned black, and there were even some areas on the bones that had blackish-brown muscles and skin. In particular, the skull had actually grown a sinister and terrifying demonic face. There were many sharp, black-bone spikes on the bodies of the demonic creatures. Their bodies were full of things that could kill people. Of course, this was only for ordinary humans. With Gu Fei's cultivation, his body was extremely strong. Even if he stood still, the 3 demonic creatures that were armed to the teeth wouldn't be able to hurt him. When the 3 demonic creatures were less than 10 zhang away from Gu Fei, he threw a punch. Uft! In the next moment, the 3 demonic creatures exploded in the void, turning into a cloud of black blood mist that dissipated in the void. With just a punch, the 3 hideous and terrifying demonic creatures were instantly killed. Seeing this scene, the 3 undying emperors couldn't help but be shocked. Their lord's cultivation seemed to have improved a lot. Good, you really have some ability. No wonder you dare to ignore this demon. The divine sense fluctuation of the ferocious demon came from the demonic well. At this time, the divine sense fluctuation of the demon was much stronger than before. Let me break the demonic well and drag you out. I want to see what you are. Gu Fei took a step forward and instantly broke through the layers of demonic qi. He arrived above the demonic well and saw a pair of blood-red eyes instantly disappear. Roar! Chapter 2135. The demonic creatures near the demonic well were incomparably ferocious. Their bodies were covered in black spikes, and their blood-red eyes shone with a terrifying light. Black liquid flowed out of their mouths, looking extremely disgusting. Roar! Seeing Gu Fei appear above the demonic well, the dozens of demonic creatures immediately pounced towards Gu Fei, wanting to tear Gu Fei to shreds and swallow him alive. Humph! Gu Fei ignored these demonic creatures. With a thought, a chaotic aura surged out of his body, enveloping him within. Bang! 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 The dozens of demonic creatures slammed into the chaotic aura around Gu Fei and were all sent flying. They couldn't even touch the hem of Gu Fei's robes. Roar! The demonic creatures roared. These demonic creatures did not have much intelligence and were just lowly killing tools. They were enslaved by the demons and slaughtered all living beings. If you don't dare, then come out and fight. Gu Fei stood proudly in the air above the demonic well. He was not affected by the demonic aura emanating from the demonic well at all. He was extremely powerful. Damn it! An intense spiritual will rippled out from the demonic well. 2 beams of blood-red light appeared in the depths of the demonic well, and a powerful demonic aura surged out. Human, you deserve to die! The demonic creature in the demonic well roared. Cowardly as a mouse. Seems like I've overestimated you, Gu Fei said in disdain. Clang! At this moment, a metallic sound rang out from the depths of the demonic well. A black beam of light broke through the layers of demonic aura, shooting out from the depths of the demonic well towards Gu Fei. This is... Gu Fei reached out with his right hand and pressed down. Rumble. The space beneath his palm shook, and a series of black spatial cracks appeared. Like black lightning, they spread out in all directions. Boom! The black light directly collided with Gu Fei's right hand. The powerful impact caused the void above the demonic well to be annihilated, and the dozens of demonic creatures were immediately affected. All of them were crushed into black blood mist by the mighty power of destruction, and their bodies and souls were destroyed. A black demonic arrow shattered under Gu Fei's palm, and the powerful demonic aura forced Gu Fei to retreat. Roar! An earth-shattering roar came from the Devil's Well. Boundless demonic qi rushed out of the Devil's Well, and a huge demonic figure appeared above the Devil's Well. Kill! The demonic figure was tens of thousands of zhang tall, its head reaching the sky and its feet on the ground. It stretched out its hand and grabbed at Gu Fei. A shocking killing intent spread out, causing the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly. The three undying emperors who were far away were extremely shocked. They hurriedly brought their subordinates and retreated far away, lest they were affected by the battle. World of Dharma. Seeing this, Gu Fei could not help but be moved. This was not the real body of the great demon in the demonic well, but a supreme magic. Although this huge demonic figure was not the real body of the demon, this world of Dharma could exert most of the power of the original body, and it was no different from the real body. I have a Dharma, and so do I. Gu Fei's body flickered, and a huge silhouette charged out from his body. It instantly grew to a height of 10,000 feet, like the innate gods of ancient myths and legends. The energy ripples emanating from the huge Dharma image caused the entire world to tremble. This part of the world seemed to be unable to accommodate his powerful Dharma. This huge figure could shatter the void with a raise of its hand and a kick. Boom! Two huge hands fiercely collided, like two innate gods and demons were fighting. The destructive power spread in all directions, and the entire ruins of the divine palace shook. Countless pavilions and palaces turned into ashes. The three undying emperors were shocked when they saw this scene from afar. Fortunately, they had retreated. Otherwise, they would be in trouble now. Gu Fei unleashed his supreme Dharma form and clashed with the demonic figure. Everything in its path was crushed, but they both managed to avoid the super seal. I didn't expect that person to have such a trump card. An intense spiritual fluctuation came from the devil's well. The fiendish devil seemed to know something, but it didn't say anything. Soon, Gu Fei's Dharma gained the upper hand, and the tens of thousands of feet tall demonic figure was almost shattered. Roar! Gu Fei's Dharma finally caught the demonic figure, and with a roar, it twisted the head of the demonic figure off. The demonic figure then disappeared into the void. You, the demon in the demonic well, did not expect Gu Fei to be this strong, and suffered a huge loss. The Dharma was formed from one's own strength. Once the Dharma was destroyed, one would suffer a huge impact as well. Bam! Gu Fei did not say anything as he punched out at the demonic well. The strong fist force caused the demonic well to vibrate, and a series of demonic marks appeared on the walls of the demonic well. Boom! Just at this moment, the entire demonic well exploded, and a demonic figure rushed out from the depths of the ground. A boundless demonic aura enveloped half the sky. What? When Gu Fei saw the demon, he could not help but be taken aback. It was a young man dressed in black with a pale face. The eyes of this young man were bloodshot, as though they were connected to an endless sea of blood. Human, you've pissed me off. The consequences will be severe. A divine will was transmitted from the young demon cultivator. The blood-red light in the young demon cultivator's eyes instantly lit up. Then the demon cultivator disappeared on the spot. Swoosh! At the same time, Gu Fei's figure disappeared from where he was as well. Bam! By the time Gu Fei and the black-robed demonic man appeared once more, the both of them were already high up in the sky. Both of their fists had slammed together. Swoosh! Both of them disappeared at the same time. Boom! By the time both of them appeared once more, their knees had slammed together fiercely, giving off a dull thud before disappearing once more. The two powerful beings were moving rapidly in the sky. Most people would not be able to catch a glimpse of their figures. Even the three undying emperors could not catch a glimpse of their figures. Good fella, to think that your physical body would be able to fight against my true demon body. This is unimaginable, the black-robed demonic man remarked. It was only now that he knew that this human truly had the strength to fight against him. Of course, if not for the fact that he had been sealed in the demonic well for countless of years, this human would definitely not be a match for him. The black-robed demonic man had been sealed in the demonic well for countless of years, and his source of demonic power was almost depleted completely. However, this demon was still extremely strong and could fight against Gu Fei endlessly. Chapter 2136. Who is that? He can actually fight with Gu Fei endlessly. A figure stood quietly in the void in the distance. Golden Tao patterns appeared on her body from time to time. The golden goddess had finally entered this world. Rumble! Above the ruins, a pavilion exploded. Two figures rushed out and separated in an instant. They stood high up in the sky and faced each other. Good. You are also a character. The demon in black couldn't help but be surprised by the combat strength that Gu Fei had displayed. It should be known that even though his demonic source energy had been mostly consumed by the power of the seal, he was still not someone that ordinary people could fight against. Ancient demons are just so. Gu Fei stared at the pale young man in black and said indifferently. His opponent's demonic body was extremely strong and could fight against Gu Fei's martial body. If this great demon was at his peak, Gu Fei would have already turned around and left. Humph! How arrogant! You should be the successor of the martial ancestor. However, even the direct disciple of the martial ancestor wouldn't dare to talk to me like this. The young man in black said coldly. Black demonic aura circled around his body. A wave of demonic aura was emitted from his body. This was the power of the true demon. Only the purest demons would have such demonic aura. Wherever such demons went, they could turn the area into a demonic domain. The demonic aura of the true demon wasn't something that ordinary creatures could resist. This demonic aura would trigger the inner demons in the creatures' hearts and turn them into demons. As expected of an old antique who can't die, Gu Fei was secretly shocked when he heard this. This great demon had a strong background. He actually met the direct disciple of the martial ancestor. This was something that could only happen in ancient times. It should be known that the direct disciple of the martial ancestor had disappeared after the ancient times were destroyed. Countless years had passed, and no direct disciple of the martial ancestor had ever appeared in the world. Some people said that the direct disciple of the martial ancestor had already died in that shocking calamity. However, some people said that the direct disciple of the martial ancestor would reappear in the world. The consequences of angering me are very serious, the young man in black said. His blood-red eyes lit up as well. There were no pupils in his eyes, only a sea of blood. It was as though his eyes were connected to a sea of blood and there were blood-red waves roiling within it. TSK, who's afraid of who? If you could kill me, you would have done so earlier. You definitely wouldn't have waited until now. You just want to buy time to recover your strength, right? Gu Fei saw through the black-robed young man's intentions at a glance. This great demon's demonic essence had been seriously damaged, but it was impossible for him to recover to his previous peak state in a short period of time. Humph! The young man in black sneered and didn't say anything else. Kill! Without any hesitation, Gu Fei displayed his strongest battle prowess. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared from where he stood. In the next moment, he appeared above the black-robed young man's head and stomped down on him. Rumble! Terrifying bolts of lightning flashed beneath his feet. The entire void beneath his feet was trembling and cracking apart before being destroyed, turning into a terrifying destructive force that shrouded over the head of the black-robed young man. Devil Hell's 3 extreme breaks. First extreme heaven break. The black-robed young man roared in rage. His right hand clenched into a fist and punched upwards. Countless demonic marks appeared on his fist before turning into a ball of black demonic light that shot towards Gu Fei's right leg. It was as though a black demonic sun had appeared in the dark sky, emitting a demonic energy that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. What a big tone! Gu Fei roared as his right leg continued to stomp down. Boom! 2 extremely powerful forces clashed together, causing an earth-shattering sound to ring out. It was as though there was a bright, flash of lightning that lit up the entire dark sky. The destructive force spread out in all directions, causing the god palace below to collapse. One by one, the half-destroyed buildings and palaces were turned into dust. A gust of wind blew past, and everything disappeared. Bang! The black-robed young man was surrounded by demonic energy as he descended from the sky. When his feet landed on the ground of the god palace cracked. The ruins of the god palace were hundreds of miles wide. It was an island floating in the void, but half of the island collapsed when the black-robed young man stomped on it. What a powerful demon! At this moment, Gu Fei was also sent flying by his opponent's power. He felt a slight pain in his right leg, which actually caused him to feel pain. Master is so powerful. The three immortal emperors were extremely excited when they saw this scene from afar. It seemed that Gu Fei had the upper hand in this confrontation. These two guys, on the other side, the Golden Goddess, also witnessed this scene. However, in her eyes, the two of them seemed to be equally matched. On the surface, it seemed that Gu Fei had the upper hand, but in fact, the black-robed demon did not suffer any losses. The successor of the martial ancestor is indeed extraordinary. The black-robed young man stood on the shattered ground. At this moment, a section of his right sleeve had disappeared. It was obvious that it had been shattered by the powerful force. The black-robed young man sneered. He was extremely excited to kill such a powerful opponent. It had been a long time since he had bathed in the hot blood of an expert. It was the same for Gu Fei. In the face of such a powerful, ferocious demon, his battle blood gradually boiled. "Come on." The black-robed young man grinned, revealing his white teeth. From his appearance, he looked just like a human. However, the true demon aura that the black-robed young man exuded was something that humans did not have. Buzz! Just as the two experts were about to attack again, a powerful wave suddenly came from the depths of the god palace. The void rippled like water. "What's going on?" Everyone was shocked. Gu Fei seemed to have thought of something. He quickly used his 8 steps extreme speed and rushed in the direction of the mountain and river cauldron. "This battle is not over yet. Where are you going?" The black-robed young man shouted and turned into a black shadow, chasing after Gu Fei. The demon's escape technique was also very powerful. The black-robed young man had mastered a movement technique that was almost comparable to the 8 desolation steps. His speed was extremely fast. Swoosh! Just as Gu Fei and the black-robed young man disappeared into the darkness, a faint golden figure also rushed into the depths of the god palace ruins. The Golden Goddess chased after it. He did not want to miss a battle of this level. This is Chapter 2137. Gu Fei and the black-robed great demon rushed into the depths of the palace ruins. The Golden Goddess followed closely behind. The 3 undying kings and the divine crocodile were extremely shocked. They didn't go in to watch the battle. After all, a battle of this level was beyond what they could handle. Gu Fei and the great demon only needed to release a trace of their power to kill them countless times over. A battle of this level would be dangerous, even if they were watching from afar. The 3 undying kings and the divine crocodile decided to leave the dark ghost realm first. Therefore, the 3 undying kings led the undead army and retreated to the entrance of the dark ghost realm. Buzz! At that moment, the mountain and river cauldron vibrated. The supreme skull in the mountain and river cauldron emitted a dazzling divine light. The supreme, great Tao seal on the skull had yet to dissipate. Strand after strand of supreme Tao markings appeared on the skull and interweaved into a profound and ancient ball. It drew upon the power of the supreme great Tao, and it actually wanted to seal the incomparably powerful life brand within the skull. "What's going on?" Gu Fei rushed over from afar. He couldn't sense the situation of the avatar in the supreme skull at all. The mountain and river cauldron of the 9 skies and 10 lands. At that moment, the black-robed great demon arrived behind Gu Fei. When he saw the ancient cauldron surrounded by primordial chaos chi in front of Gu Fei, he was extremely shocked. In the world of cultivation, this divine cauldron had existed for too long. Since the mythological era, there were already some records about this ancient cauldron. Haha, I can wear out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. After the black-robed great demon recovered from his shock, he couldn't help but laugh. The legendary mountain and river cauldron had actually appeared in this place. He was extremely surprised. It should be known that in the untainted world, countless people wanted this ancient cauldron. Even the Supreme was no exception. However, he had never heard of anyone obtaining the mountain and river cauldron. How can this be? Gu Fei couldn't help being shocked to see such a change in the sovereign skull. The sovereign skull's sovereign energy had actually sealed all the life imprints inside. This ancient cauldron is mine. Just at this moment, the black-robed demon could no longer sit still. He pounced towards Gu Fei. His devilish chi surged as his devilish aura spread out. Preposterous! Gu Fei was enraged. At this moment, this black-robed demon was really asking for a beating. Bang! Without any hesitation, Gu Fei turned around and punched at the black-robed great demon. The powerful punch caused the void in front of his fist to collapse. Boom! With a muffled sound, the black-clothed great demon also threw a punch, which collided fiercely with Gu Fei's fist. Demonic runes appeared on his fist, condensing the power of the great Tao of demonic Tao. The black-robed great demon was forced back by Gu Fei's punch. As for Gu Fei, he didn't have it easy either. He staggered back 5 to 6 steps before he managed to dissipate the power from the fist. If you want the mountain and river cauldron, we'll have to see if you have the capabilities. Gu Fei stared at the black-robed demon and said calmly. Within his eyes, there was a chaotic light flashing. It was as though a chaotic world was evolving in his eyes. There was nothing more to say. The black-robed demon executed his demonic arts once more. He struck out with the second extreme break of the devil prison's 3 extreme breaks towards Gu Fei. A peerless amount of demonic energy burst forth from his hands. Rumble! The ground was sinking. A number of half-ruined pavilions were destroyed by the destructive energy, turning into dust and disappearing from the world. The entire God Palace ruins shook. 8 killing steps. Gu Fei bellowed as he took the second step. Destructive energy condensed beneath his feet, as though a part of the void was collapsing beneath his feet. Boom! Gu Fei's 8 killing steps clashed against the black-robed demon's second extreme break of the devil prison's 3 extreme breaks. This time, Gu Fei wasn't forced back. The same was true for the black-robed demon. The 2 experts moved through the void so quickly that their figures couldn't be seen. Gu Fei and the black-robed demon were evenly matched. It wasn't easy to determine who would win in a short time. The mountain and river cauldron. The golden goddess who was hidden in the distance couldn't help but be shocked. The ancient cauldron in front of her was a supreme divine weapon that could suppress the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was obvious that this mountain and river cauldron belonged to Gu Fei. The golden goddess didn't take advantage of the battle between Gu Fei and the fiendish demon to take the mountain and river cauldron. This was because she knew that it was impossible for her to take the cauldron with her own strength. Chaotic reversal. Gu Fei's voice came from the sky. Then the black-robed demon's killing arts were reversed. His own killing arts were now attacking him. This was definitely not a good thing. Bang! Boom! The sudden change caused the black-robed demon to panic. He was punched several times in a row. His face was bruised, and these punches were from his own hands. How is this possible? The black-robed demon was shocked. His opponent could actually reverse his attacks. This art was very wondrous and made him almost invincible. Bang! Gu Fei took advantage of the moment when the black-robed great demon's defense was full of openings and ruthlessly kicked the black-robed great demon's waist, causing the great demon to fall to the side. A stream of black blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth, shocking and angering him. The legendary 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. The black-robed demon was very knowledgeable. He recognized the great art that Gu Fei had used. This great art could reverse all his opponent's attacks, causing his opponent to be injured by his own strength. Kill. At this moment, Gu Fei charged over again. Swish! Just as the black-robed demon was about to meet him, Gu Fei's figure suddenly blurred. Then, 3 Gu Feis appeared in front of the black-robed demon. The black-robed demon's shock was no small matter. There were 3 Gu Feis. Each Gu Feis might be the real one. Each Gu Feis emitted an incomparably powerful aura. This made the black-robed demon feel a great threat. Bang! The charging Gu Fei directly punched at the black-robed demon. As for the other 2 Gu Feis, one used the chaotic reversal secret art, while the other used the 8 steps 8 kills grand art. They attacked the black-robed demon at the same time. 3 Pure Ones. Chapter 2138. In the back mountains of the Taishan sect, there was a quiet and secluded place. There were trees, flowers, birds, and insects. Next to a gravel path, there was a boulder as tall as a person. On top of the boulder, a young man in a white robe was sitting cross-legged, cultivating. The young man's body was surrounded by spiritual energy. As he breathed in and out, the spiritual energy that gathered expanded and shrank, following a mysterious pattern and gathering toward the young man's dantian. The young man's name was Gu Fei, and he was a disciple of the younger generation of the Taishan sect. The Taishan sect was one of the 3 major sects on the Tunglong continent. It had a long history and was an ancient sect. Gu Fei was an orphan. When he was 8 years old, his master, Wan Xianqing, had left the mountain to travel and brought him back to the Taishan sect to be accepted as a disciple. Although he was in the Tao sect, what Gu Fei cultivated was not a Tao technique, but a technique called Ancient Body Refining Technique. Body refining technique, as the name suggested, was a technique that used one's own body as the foundation. It was a technique that defied the natural order and cultivated the body. The techniques described in the technique were enough to make one's body sacred, and the ancient battle techniques could kill immortals and gods. However, once this ancient secret technique was cultivated, it was extremely difficult. Even if one failed to cultivate it, they could no longer change to another. Sitting cross-legged on the boulder with his eyes closed, Gu Fei operated the ancient body refining technique, absorbing the spiritual energy from all directions into his dantian and accumulating it. When the spiritual energy in his dantian was compressed and accumulated to a certain extent, he guided the spiritual energy in his dantian to attack the meridians of the body. Wave after wave of spiritual energy gathered, whether it was the surrounding plant essence or the sun essence and moon essence floating in the void. Gu Fei did not reject any of them. He absorbed them into his dantian like rivers running into the sea. Vaguely, one could see streaks of light that were as fine as green silk lingering around his body. As time went by, Gu Fei's dantian began to emit a 7-colored glow. It was the glow emitted by the highly condensed spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Gathering chi impacting, sometimes strong, sometimes weak. Waves of spiritual chi spread out from Gu Fei's body. As it cycled back and forth, streams of 7-colored spiritual chi surged from Gu Fei's dantian, like a river bursting through a dam, and impacted the meridians in his body that had not yet been opened. Every impact was like 1,000-pound hammer ruthlessly bombarding Gu Fei's body. Every impact caused a trace of pain to appear on his face. Powerful spiritual energy rushed through his meridians, bringing with it a tearing pain. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth that erupted from his dantian was extremely violent, making his meridians feel as if they were being cut by countless sharp knives. He gritted his teeth and was sweating profusely. His hair was stuck to his face by the sweat, and his white shirt was soaked and stuck to his body. He was experiencing the second threshold of the ancient body refining technique, meridian opening. Meridian opening was to gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, condense it in the dantian, and then impact the aperture acupoints above the meridians, making the meridians unobstructed. In this way, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth could travel along the meridians of the whole body to every inch of muscle and every bone of the body, thus achieving the purpose of refining the muscles, bones, flesh, and blood, and making the body sublimate and transform. The ancient body refining technique was a heaven-defying cultivation technique. Without a rock-like willpower and unremitting hard work, it was impossible to even cross the first threshold of the qi gathering. There were countless cultivation systems in the tongue-long continent, but the realms of the world's cultivators could be divided into 5 major realms: self-awakening, transcending mortality, royal void, demigod, and saint. Each realm was further divided into 9 heavens, implying the meaning of the 9-5 supremacy. The ancient body refining technique had 4 checkpoints in the self-awakening realm. The first step was the qi gathering. Only by mastering the qi gathering ability could Gufei proceed to the next step of the meridian opening. After the meridian opening was the tendons transformation. After the tendons transformation had reached the advanced level, it was the bone forging technique. When the bone forging technique reached the advanced level, it was the time for the body to transform. Once the transformation was successful, Gufei could break through the shackles of cultivation and advance to the transcending mortality realm. The spiritual energy gathered is still not strong enough. Failure after failure brought a terrible pain like death by 1,000 cuts. Gufei bit the corner of his mouth until it bled, but he still persisted. The human body has 12 main meridians. I have only opened 2 meridians. Besides the 12 main meridians, there are still 8 extra meridians. When can I open all the meridians in my body and enter the tendons transformation realm? The difficulty of cultivating the ancient body refining technique was really terrifying. Most of the people who cultivated this technique had an awesome name, but their cultivation progress was extremely slow. It seemed that there was only one ending, and that was before they could successfully cultivate the ancient body refining technique. These people had already died of old age. The morning cultivation time was about to end. Gufei sat the whole morning. Since he opened the second meridian 2 years ago, he had not made any progress. The wall of cultivation was like an insurmountable chasm that spanned across in front of him. Gufei was a little disappointed, but he was not discouraged. His character was a bit like his master, Wan Xianqing. They were both stubborn like a bull, the kind of person who would not turn back even after 100 setbacks. Fight! Gufei looked up at the sky. There was still enough time for him to break through 1 more meridian. Therefore, he gritted his teeth, his face showed a determined look, and his eyes were incomparably firm. Circulating the technique, the heaven and earth spiritual energy that had not yet dissipated around his body once again converged. In his dantian, a mass of spiritual energy was slowly rotating, absorbing the spiritual energy that gathered from all directions. A not weak fluctuation of yuan qi was emitted from his body, and various colors of starlight emerged in his dantian. This was the highly compressed heaven and earth spiritual energy, and it was the heaven and earth spiritual energy that had not undergone any transformation. The heaven and earth spiritual energy quickly converged in Gufei's dantian, until Gufei felt a swelling pain in his dantian. He fiercely hardened his heart and desperately pushed the highly compressed spiritual energy in his dantian to the 3rd meridian of the 12 standard meridians. The powerful and explosive spiritual energy surged rapidly in Gufei's meridians. It was like a torrential flood had suddenly gushed into a small stream. Wherever the spiritual energy passed through, his meridians would rapidly expand, almost bursting from the torrent. Boom! It was as if there was an explosion of thunder in Gu Fei's ears. The torrent that surged out from his dantian fiercely hit the wall of the meridians. Gu Fei's body shook violently. He suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body swayed, and he actually fell from the rock. Under the boulder, in the grass, Gu Fei lay on the ground facing the sky. The corner of his mouth was scarlet, and it was particularly eye-catching. He looked up at the sky, and through the gaps in the leaves he saw the leisurely drifting clouds of smoke in the sky. Occasionally, a few spirit birds would fly past in the sky. There was no discouragement in his eyes, no frustration, only a somewhat frightening determination. He slowly climbed up from the ground, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked in the direction of the mountain in front of him. On the mountain road in the back of the mountain, there were already scattered figures heading toward the front of the mountain. They were disciples of the Taishian sect, like him, who had come to the back of the mountain early to cultivate. Taishian Mountain towered into the clouds, and the top of the mountain was surrounded by clouds and mist. The palaces were faintly discernible on the mountain, and the terrain was magnificent. It was a rare spirit mountain, holy land on the continent. The high-level cultivators all cultivated on the mountain, and young disciples like Gu Fei, who had been in the sect for less than 10 years and had low cultivation, could only cultivate at the foot of the mountain. I still haven't broken through. Gu Fei looked inside his body, and he found that the wall of the third meridian was only a little loose, but it was still far from breaking through. 8 years, and the ancient body, refinement technique, has only reached the meridian opening realm, but it has only awakened my third tier of cultivation. Sigh. Gu Fei laughed bitterly at himself. The disciples of the other branches, even Wang Yuanji, who has the lowest cultivation, has awakened my 5th tier of cultivation. Thinking of Wang Yuanji, who often caused trouble for him, Gu Fei's face showed a look of disgust. The disciples of the other branches cultivated law techniques, and their progress was lightning fast, but his cultivation technique progress was as slow as a snail. In the world of cultivation, only the strong were respected, and those with low cultivation would only become the target of bullying. Gu Fei tidied up his clothes, and then walked along the mountain road to the front of the mountain. On both sides of the quiet mountain road, unknown flowers were blooming. The faint smell of grass and the faint fragrance of flowers floated into Gu Fei's nose from time to time. Just now, when he failed to break through the meridian wall, Gu Fei's body had suffered a lot of impact, and injuries were inevitable. However, he did not take the injuries seriously at all, because after cultivating the ancient body refinement technique, he had no other skills. But his body's self-healing ability was amazing. When Gu Fei came to the front of the mountain, he met more and more disciples, but no one greeted him, as if they did not see him or glanced at him with disdain and walked away. Gu Fei's face was expressionless, and his face was indifferent, facing the disdainful eyes of some of his fellow disciples. He was indifferent. "Oh, isn't this our cultivation genius Gu Fei? Ah, no, it should be cultivation waste, haha." Suddenly, a wanton laughter came from the front. On the path in front, there were 3 teenagers who were also wearing white robes with white belts on their waists. The leader laughed loudly, and the 2 teenagers behind him also laughed in a low voice. Seeing these 3 teenagers, a look of disgust flashed in Gu Fei's eyes, and then he ignored the 3 teenagers and directly turned to the side of the path. This small path led to a pine forest. "Hey, junior brother Trash, why are you walking so fast?" The 3 youths giggled as they followed Gu Fei onto the small path. On the path, there were 7 or 8 other young disciples. However, when these disciples saw the 3 teenagers who laughed at Gu Fei, their footsteps could not help but speed up a little, as if they wanted to force the 3 teenagers away. "Who are you calling trash?" Gu Fei suddenly stopped moving, turned around, and roared at the 3 youths. This roar of his drew the gazes of the nearby fellow disciples over. What's wrong with saying you are trash? Not only are you trash, but your master is also trash. What ancient body refinement technique? What sage body? It is just a garbage, thrown on the ground and no one will pick it up, but you too, master and disciple, treat garbage as a treasure. Your head must have been kicked by a donkey. Stupid to the extreme. The leading teenager was suddenly shouted at by Gu Fei and was stunned for a moment, but immediately, like a machine gun, he pointed at Gu Fei's nose and cursed. Chapter 2139. Demons were unscrupulous in their actions. As long as there was a way to improve their strength, demons would use it to the extreme. Devouring other powerful creatures was definitely a shortcut for demons to improve their cultivation. This was also one of the reasons why demons were the greatest enemies of all living beings in the world. You're an excellent blood meal. I can at least recover part of my vitality after devouring you. The ferocious demon stared at Gu Fei. The blood-red light in its eyes shone even brighter. Its powerful divine will spread out in all directions without any scruples. Come on, Gu Fei said. He had no choice but to take this ferocious demon seriously. This was definitely an extremely powerful opponent. If he was not careful, he would be in danger of being killed by the other party. Swoosh! The ferocious demon disappeared on the spot. So fast! Gu Fei was taken aback. In the next moment, he felt a gust of cold wind blowing on his face as a sharp black claw directly grabbed at his face. It was as if 3 ferocious demons had appeared all of a sudden. Gu Fei's 3 Taoist bodies were attacked at the same time. This shocked Gu Fei, but he reacted immediately. The 3 Taoist bodies retreated almost at the same time. Gu Fei had the extreme speed of 8 steps. He only took 1 step back, and the 3 Taoist bodies were already dozens of miles away in an instant. Their speed was unimaginable. Humph! The ferocious demon sneered and chased after Gu Fei like a shadow. Its pitch-black claw was still going for Gu Fei's face. This guy, Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved. After this fiendish devil transformed into a true devil, its speed was actually comparable to Gu Fei's extreme speed 8 steps. Chaotic reversal. Gu Fei used the 9 secrets of a mortal path. An unpredictable wave spread from his 3 Taoist bodies. The void around the 3 Taoist bodies immediately distorted. The demonic claw that was going for Gu Fei's face was moved to the side by a strange force. This time the ominous devil was truly shocked. There was actually someone who could move his attack away. This kind of thing had never happened before. Bang! Gu Fei's 3 Taoist bodies fought back immediately. 2 of the demonic shadows were shattered, but they were not the real ones. Only one of the demonic shadows was the real one. One of Gu Fei's Taoist bodies punched it in the chest and abdomen. The ferocious devil was sent flying thousands of feet away by the punch of Gu Fei's Taoist body. However, this time, Gu Fei's punch did not leave any mark on the ferocious devil's body. Gu Fei's punch was actually unable to injure this ferocious devil in the slightest, and this caused his heart to tremble. Humph, if this is all you've got, then there's no need for you to struggle. The ferocious devil pressed forward, and his voice was extremely cold. His blood-red eyes emitted a kind of crazy evil light. He could not wait to pounce on Gu Fei and swallow him alive. This ferocious devil was very confident. He was very clear about the strength of the true demon body. Even if a sage came, it would not be able to injure his true demon body severely. Although he did not have the invincible cultivation of the past, he still had the strong physique of the past, just like those sages who sealed themselves. Although they did not have the cultivation of the sages, they still had the physical body of the sages. Boasting shamelessly, Gu Fei did not say anything more. Everything would be determined by strength. His 3 Taoist bodies directly displayed their martial arts combat skills and rushed towards the ferocious devil. Chaos Fist. one of the Taoist bodies directly displayed their strongest combat skills. The chaos true power was vast and mighty. The punch that the Taoist body threw out was extremely powerful, and it contained an invincible fist intent. Bang! The ferocious devil was also very straightforward. He also threw out a punch, and the punch that Gu Fei's Taoist body fiercely collided with each other, and a muffled sound was heard. Gu Fei's Taoist body only felt a strong force coming from his opponent's fist. After that, his entire body was sent flying. Gu Fei's Taoist body was shocked that his powerful Taoist body was sent flying. Ascension. Another Taoist body displayed the Ascension secret technique, and the strength of his Taoist body instantly increased by 5 or 6 times. A peerlessly powerful wave spread out from his Taoist body. It was another chaos fist. There were no tricks. This Taoist body also threw out a chaos fist. This punch was different from the previous one. The strength of this punch was at least 5 times stronger than the previous one. Bang! The ferocious devil also threw out a punch. This time, the ferocious devil was unable to send Gu Fei's Taoist body flying. The two figures retreated at the same time. This attack seemed to be evenly matched. The third Taoist body displayed the primordial soul sword of the Great Path. The purple sword light of the Great Path emitted a strong wei rhyme. It pierced towards the ferocious devil at an extremely fast speed. Swoosh! Where the sword light passed, a bloody mark was immediately left on the ferocious devil's chest. Black, demonic blood flowed out from the wound. The primordial soul sword of the Great Path attracted the power of the Great Path. Even the true demon body would be injured if it was hit by the sword light of the Great Path. Demonic patterns appeared on the ferocious devil's body. The power of the demonic way was mighty, and the wound on the ferocious devil's body was immediately healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The true demon body is really that strong. Gu Fei could not help but be shocked at this scene. It should be known that the damage caused by the primordial soul sword of the Great Path was an injury of the Great Path. Such an injury was very difficult to heal because the power of the Great Path was attached to the wound. It could only be said that this true demon body was truly unbelievably strong. Roar, it's the 9 secrets of the immortal path again. Did you actually obtain the complete 9 secrets? The ferocious devil roared. The 9 secret techniques created by the Supreme Tao Ancestor were truly heaven-defying. Even the true demon body would be injured, and this made the ferocious devil feel threatened. Kill! Gu Fei's 3 Taoist bodies used the desolate steps at the same time, displaying the extreme speed of 8 steps. They all rushed towards the ferocious devil at the same time. Their murderous aura shook the heavens and the earth, and their formidable power spread out. Bang! The ferocious devil was furious, and it directly sent one of Gu Fei's Taoist bodies flying. However, 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. At the same time that one of Gu Fei's Taoist bodies was sent flying, the ferocious devil's head was also punched heavily by Gu Fei's other Taoist body. This punch caused the fiendish devil to become dizzy and disoriented. Swoosh! At this moment, a beam of violet gold sword light suddenly came down from above, directly cleaving the ferocious devil's head. The ferocious devil only felt a chill on its head. Before it could finish its thought, it knew nothing. Its consciousness sank into darkness, and 2 pieces of its corpse flew to the left and right. This, the golden goddess, who was watching the battle from afar, was shocked to see this scene. The situation had taken a sudden turn for the worse. The ferocious devil, which had seemed to have the upper hand, had been instantly killed by Gu Fei. What is that thing in his hand? It can actually kill a true demon, the golden goddess muttered to herself. After killing the ferocious devil, Gu Fei's ultimate weapon disappeared in a flash. It was extremely fast, as if it had never appeared in the first place. Chapter 2140. Gu Fei had successfully killed the fiendish demon that had escaped from the well. This scene shocked the golden goddess to the extreme. She couldn't believe it. It should be known that this fiendish demon was extremely powerful. Even though it had been suppressed for countless years and its vitality was damaged, its saint-level physical body was still the real deal. Moreover, this was the body of a true demon. This kind of physique was much stronger than an ordinary saint-level physical body. Even if a real saint attacked, it would be difficult for them to injure the body of a true demon. Gu Fei definitely had a great weapon in his hands. This weapon could easily split the body of a true demon in half. Could it be a supreme divine weapon? The golden goddess was shocked. Rumble. At this moment, the mountain and river cauldron in the distance started shaking. Primordial chaos, qi, circled above the ancient cauldron. A powerful wave of life came out from the cauldron. It's done. Gu Fei's mind trembled. Inside the ancient cauldron, a supreme skull floated in the internal space of the mountain and river cauldron, emitting endless divine light. A flame-shaped life imprint flickered with the light of life in the glabella of the supreme skull. Supreme Tao patterns faintly appeared on the skull. Supreme being Tao patterns interweaved, triggering a powerful wave of power, sealing up the Supreme Being skull. When Gu Fei arrived in front of the mountain and river cauldron, the evolution of life in the Supreme Skull had already ended. Gu Fei's clone had successfully destroyed the other powerful life imprints in the Supreme Skull. A figure sat cross-legged in the Supreme Skull. Countless Tao patterns bloomed all over his body. A powerful wave of life spread out from this figure. What's going on? Gu Fei's clone wanted to leave the Supreme Skull, but he discovered that the entire internal space of the skull had been sealed by a force. Damn it. In the internal space of the Supreme Skull, Gu Fei's clone roared angrily. This Supreme Skull was indeed strange. An unknown powerful existence had used the Supreme Skull to set up a trap. What ghost Tao essence? That was just an illusion. Someone was using the Paragon Skull to nurture powerful life seals. Those life seals were constantly being repaired until they became complete life seals. After that, the inextinguishable soul flame within the Supreme Being Skull continued to devour these complete life imprints to strengthen itself. Gu Fei figured out a lot of things that he didn't understand before. The person who set up this trap was really generous. Could it be that the person was actually another Supreme Being? Thinking of this, Gu Fei couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. If this was really the work of a Supreme Being, then it would be extraordinary. The means of a Supreme Being were unimaginable. Rumble. At this moment, the Supreme Skull underwent another change. Countless Supreme Tao runes actually triggered a wisp of the Supreme Sovereign's power, which rushed towards Gu Fei's clone. Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. This was like a fattened prey. Since it was fattened, then it should be slaughtered and eaten. Now, Gu Fei's clone trapped in the Supreme Skull was like a fattened prey. The person who set up this trap back then was going to slaughter this prey. How dare you? After Gu Fei understood all this, he hurriedly sat in front of the cauldron of mountain and river and guided the power of the cauldron towards the Supreme Skull. You want to plot against me? Humph. Gu Fei used all his strength to guide the power of the cauldron of mountain and river. An illusion of an ancient cauldron appeared above the Supreme Skull and then pressed down on it. Buzz. The Supreme Skull vibrated and Supreme Tao runes appeared. Countless Tao runes intertwined and formed an illusory figure that stood up from the Supreme Skull. Boom! The figure punched upwards and directly hit the cauldron of mountain and river. It actually blocked the illusion of the cauldron. Gu Fei was extremely shocked. The Tao runes on the Supreme Skull could actually evolve into a human figure. This was really shocking to him. What was going on? All this happened in the cauldron of mountain and river. Other than Gu Fei, no one else could sense such a shocking change. This was already beyond Gu Fei's understanding. At this time, he could finally sense an extremely weak soul wave coming from the Supreme Skull. Kill. Inside the Sovereign Skull, Gu Fei's avatar had devoured the other life imprints. His life force was extremely powerful. He directly charged towards the depths of this space. There was a ball of Sovereign's inextinguishable soul fire there. The inextinguishable soul fire was beating and had become very weak. It seemed like it would be extinguished in the next moment. However, just as Gu Fei's clone approached the soul fire suddenly became vigorous, and a figure walked out of the soul fire. After waiting for so many years, the opportunity for rebirth has finally appeared. A weak wave of divine will spread out from the figure. This, Gu Fei's clone was truly shocked. He immediately understood that inside the Supreme Skull, there was still a strand of Ji Zun's soul. This strand of Ji Zun's soul must be in a special state. It was completely silent inside the Supreme Skull, which was why he could not sense the existence of the strand of Ji Zun's soul. This is troublesome. Gu Fei's clone couldn't help but feel nervous. Ji Zun's methods were far too heaven-defying. His corpse had already turned into a skeleton, but his soul still did not dissipate and was waiting to be reborn. Your fruit of Wei, I want it. Die. Gu Fei's clone did not hesitate. His opponent was Ji Zun, and he did not retreat. He immediately used the heaven-encompassing hand and slapped the figure in front of him. An extremely powerful energy fluctuation spread out, and a huge palm descended from the sky, completely enveloping the mysterious figure under it. To Gu Fei, this strand of Ji Zun's soul was the fruit of Wei. If he could successfully devour this strand of soul, he would obtain a part of Ji Zun's memory. This was very important to Gu Fei. Perhaps he could find a way to become a saint from Ji Zun's memory. Boom! Ji Zun's soul moved. Then the entire space inside the Supreme Skull began to shake violently. It was as if an unparalleled heavenly beast was awakening inside the skull. Bang! The heaven-encompassing hand that Gu Fei's clone used exploded. Then a palm pierced through the clone in an instant and sent him flying. He was almost destroyed and suffered a great impact. Too strong. Ji Zun is Ji Zun. Even though he only has a weak strand of soul left, he is still unimaginably strong. Chapter 2141. Gu Fei had barged into a trap set up by a Ji. This was something that Gu Fei had never expected. Rumble! Inside the mountain and river cauldron, the primordial chaos chi surged. The silhouette of an ancient cauldron continued to press down on the sovereign skull. A power that could suppress the heavens erupted. However, the silhouette that was condensed from the sovereign skull was also extremely powerful. It was able to resist the power of the mountain and river cauldron, which shocked Gu Fei to the extreme. The aura of a supreme sovereign seeped out from the silhouette. If this wasn't happening inside the mountain and river cauldron, but in the outside world, the entire dark ghost world would have been destroyed by this sovereign's aura. Even with the suppression of the mountain and river cauldron, Gu Fei, who was sitting cross-legged before the mountain and river cauldron, still felt a great pressure that made his heart palpitate. Even someone as strong as him couldn't resist the aura of a sovereign. It was hard to imagine how powerful a real sovereign would be. You want to be reborn? Unfortunately, you've met me. Thinking that he had been tricked, Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked and angry. However, he hadn't completely lost yet. Although his opponent was a sovereign, he still had a trump card. The mountain and river cauldron that can suppress the 9 heavens and 10 earths? In the space inside the sovereign's skull, the silhouette that walked out from the sovereign's soul fire sent out a divine sense. The divine sense fluctuated intensely. It was obvious that the silhouette was also extremely shocked. The aura of a sovereign divine tool couldn't be imitated. The divine sense of a sovereign knew that it was inside a sovereign divine cauldron. There was only one ancient cauldron in the world that could be this mystical, the mountain and river cauldron. This was something that the sovereign didn't expect. The appearance of the mountain and river cauldron had changed the entire situation. This kind of change was difficult for even a sovereign to control. At this time on the Berry Sky ancestral star, the night had already receded. Gu Zhong and the others were looking for traces of Gu Fei. At this moment, they felt an incomparably powerful fluctuation. It's the aura of the mountain and river cauldron. Gu Zhong was overjoyed when he sensed this fluctuation. Then they rushed towards the source of the fluctuation and disappeared into the yellow sand. What is Gu Fei doing? Could it be that he's in trouble? In the distant sky, the golden goddess didn't dare to approach because the aura coming from the mountain and river cauldron and the other aura coming from the mountain and river cauldron made her feel very uneasy. At this time, Gu Fei no longer hesitated. He opened his mouth and spat out a flying sword that emitted a purple-gold divine light. That flying sword directly rushed into the mountain and river cauldron. Swoosh! Just as the purple-gold flying sword rushed into the mountain and river cauldron, a ball of divine light wrapped around a heaven blade. It rushed out of Gu Fei's dantian and also entered the mountain and river cauldron. I'll fight you to the death! Gu Fei was determined. He used the other two supreme divine weapons, the purple-gold divine sword and the peerless ominous saber. That is, in the distant sky, the eyes of the golden goddess who had been staring at Gu Fei lit up. Was that the supreme divine weapon that Gu Fei had used to slay the ferocious demon? Although the purple-gold divine sword and the peerless ominous saber had entered the mountain and river cauldron as soon as they appeared, the golden goddess could still sense that the two divine weapons were extraordinary. Buzz! After the purple-gold divine sword entered the mountain and river cauldron, it immediately let out a buzzing sound. Then it turned into a purple-gold sword light and arrived at the Supreme Being's skull. Swoosh! Wherever the sword light passed, the figure that could resist the shadow of the mountain and river cauldron was immediately split apart. Boom! Without the figure blocking it, the shadow of the mountain and river cauldron directly suppressed the Supreme Being's skull. The soul fire inside the Supreme Being's skull was pulsating. The figure inside the Supreme Being's skull immediately became dim, as if it could dissipate into the void at any time. Roar! Just as the purple-gold divine sword was about to attack, a roar rang out from the sky. Then, a huge black shadow broke through the layers of obstacles and appeared near the skull. That was a black dragon that was 10,000 zhang long. It released an exceptional vicious might, causing the entire void to tremble. This was the aura of a supreme being. The peerless ominous saber emitted an extremely overbearing and ferocious aura, causing the sovereign divine sense inside the sovereign skull to feel very uneasy. Swoosh! The sovereign spiritual will directly pounce towards Gu Fei's clone. As long as he could devour this guy, his cultivation and strength would increase tremendously. Buzz! With a deafening sound, a sword shadow appeared in the hand of Gu Fei's avatar in the Supreme Being's skull. Then, the shadow of a peerless ominous saber appeared in the other hand of Gu Fei's avatar. He held two sovereign artifacts in his hands, and the waves emitted from the sovereign artifacts shocked the figure. At this moment, Gu Fei had already stabbed out with his sword. The illusory body of the sword contained the incomparably powerful waves of the sovereign artifact. As long as this sword pierced through, even the remnant soul of a sovereign artifact would be turned into ashes. The figure hurriedly dodged. At this moment, the peerless ominous saber slashed down again. Still, the figure did not dare to go against the power of the sovereign artifact and dodged again. I didn't expect you to have so many sovereign artifacts on you. The figure was extremely shocked. Gu Fei began to activate the power of the sovereign artifact and began to attack the Supreme Being's skull. Swoosh! A beam of purple gold sword light directly fell towards the Supreme Being's skull. Kacha! The divine sword directly struck the Supreme Being's skull, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Without any suspense, the Supreme Being's skull was split open by the purple-gold divine sword, and a sword mark appeared on the top of the skull. Roar! The black dragon also transformed into a black saber light that traversed thousands of miles and fell towards the Supreme Being's skull. Even though the Tao patterns of the sovereign artifact were intertwined on the skull, the condensed power was unable to contend against a true sovereign artifact. How is this possible? The wisp of divine will that came from the Supreme Being's skull was extremely frightened. The remnant soul of the sovereign artifact had waited for countless years, and what it waited for was not the opportunity to be reborn, but the opportunity to be destroyed. The mountain and river cauldron suppressed the Supreme Being's skull. Then the purple-gold divine sword and the peerless ominous saber directly slashed towards the Supreme Being's skull, easily breaking through the suppressive power of the Supreme Being's skull. Swoosh! Gu Fei's avatar hurriedly flew up into the sky and rushed out of the supreme martial artist skull that had been broken open. Then it rushed out of the mountain and river cauldron and entered the forehead of Gu Fei's main body. Boom! At this moment, a shocking change happened in Gu Fei's Naiwen Palace. The endless life force that the avatar had brought back was all devoured by an immortal cocoon in the Naiwen Palace. Chapter 2142. After devouring the boundless life force, the clone returned to the Naiwen Palace. After the life force was devoured by the immortal Tao fetus, the Tao fetus in the Naiwen Palace immediately changed in a way that shocked even Gu Fei himself. Countless immortal Tao runes appeared on the Tao fetus. The immortal Tao divine body that had been nurturing broke out of its cocoon. Terrifying waves of immortal Tao shot out from between Gu Fei's eyebrows, shocking the heavens. It was as if a natural-born saint had appeared between the heavens and earth. Whoosh! A figure walked out from between Gu Fei's eyebrows and entered the cauldron of mountains and rivers. Die! The immortal Tao divine body, nurtured by the nascent divinity, and Tao fetus, was extremely powerful. It attacked the skull that was sealed by the power of the cauldron of mountains and rivers. The immortal Tao divine body stretched out its hand. The violet gold sword and the peerless saber immediately flew back to it and landed in its hands. Without any suspense, the immortal Tao divine body's strength reached an unimaginable level. It cleaved the almost shattered skull in half with a single strike. Divine snatch! Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine physique let out a roar, and an unfathomable force immediately rushed out from the center of his brows and instantly spread out. A ball of soul fire flew out from the broken skull of the Supreme Master. It wanted to escape, but it was inside the space of the mountain and river cauldron. Even a wisp of the divine sense of a Supreme Master couldn't escape. Buzz! The space shook. A pitch-black vortex appeared between the eyebrows of Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine body. A heaven-devouring power seeped out from the vortex and swallowed the ball of soul fire. The soul fire had nowhere to go. In the end, it was devoured by Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine body. Gu Fei successfully obtained a memory belonging to the sovereign. I see. Gu Fei knew of a method that could allow him to evade the destructive power of the unseen world. The means of a Ji Zun was truly unbelievable. He could even grasp the method to resist that kind of power. However, Ji Zun's divine sense did not have any memory of how the destructive force had appeared. The moment Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine physique devoured Sovereign's extremely weak soul fire, the immortal divinity on the sovereign's skull rapidly disappeared. Very soon, the skull completely lost its divinity and crumbled into dust. It disappeared into the void and no longer existed. After destroying the skull, Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine body used a great technique to seal itself. The immortal Tao divine body's powerful aura was immediately retracted. It sealed itself to avoid the destructive power so that Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine body wouldn't trigger the terrifying power. The immortal Tao divine body born from Gu Fei's nascent spirit, Tao embryo, wasn't a body of flesh and blood. It was a different kind of life form between the flesh and nascent spirit. However, this wasn't a bad thing for Gu Fei because there was still an immortal Venerable's body suppressed in the mountain and river cauldron. It was the body of immortal Venerable Qilin in Buzhou ancestral star. Gu Fei felt that his decision to suppress immortal Venerable Qilin in the mountain and river cauldron was really correct. This was the body of an immortal Venerable. This immortal Venerable's body was simply specially prepared for Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine body. Gu Fei didn't hesitate. He directly used one of the 9 secrets of immortal Tao, the God-seizing secret technique, to enter immortal Venerable Qilin's Naiwen Palace and refine his spirit soul. Immortal Venerable Qilin had lived for countless years, so his soul and memories were extremely rich. Even though Gu Fei's immortal Tao divine body was extremely strong, this huge amount of information almost burst his sea of consciousness. Time passed by, and countless Tao patterns appeared on immortal Venerable Qilin's body. After 3 days and 3 nights, immortal Venerable Qilin's body gradually calmed down. Gu Fei used the God-seizing secret technique to seize immortal Venerable Qilin's immortal Venerable Tao fruit. His immortal Tao divine body successfully fused with immortal Venerable Qilin's body. This was a true clone. Gu Fei's clone was extremely strong, and the immortal Venerable's body could directly compete with a divine artifact. During these 3 days, many figures appeared around Gu Fei, but no one dared to approach him because the ancient cauldron in front of Gu Fei was constantly emitting powerful fluctuations. That was the mountain and river cauldron. The Golden Goddess didn't dare to act rashly. It should be known that a wisp of primordial chaos energy around the cauldron could kill her countless times. This was the terror of the supreme divine cauldron. Gu Zhong and the others also came nearby, but they didn't dare to approach Gu Fei. They just watched from afar. At this time, Gu Zhong and the others had already met up with the 3 immortal emperors. Boom! While everyone was watching Gu Fei and the mountain and river cauldron, a dull sound of impact came from the depths of the palace ruins. What's that? Everyone was shocked. Could it be that there was something suppressed in the depths of this divine palace? Swoosh! The Golden Goddess was the first to act. She directly rushed into the depths of the palace ruins and arrived in front of the super-sealing grand array. The Golden Goddess's eyes were extremely sinister. She came from the Gold family, which was a supreme family. Her knowledge wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. She could see that the area in front of her was extraordinary, so she didn't dare to enter rashly. This aura, it's really extravagant. The Golden Goddess was extremely shocked when she sensed the aura coming from the huge bones inserted into the ground in front of her. This was a super-sealing grand array set up by the bones of a supreme being. The unknown existence that was suppressed by the super seal began to attack the super seal again after a few days of silence. Bang! There was another dull sound. The Golden Goddess could feel the fluctuation coming from under her feet. He didn't leave. She found a place to sit down. At this time, the fluctuation coming from Gu Fei's mountain and river cauldron had completely disappeared. A peerlessly powerful figure, shrouded in treasure, light, jumped out of the mountain and river cauldron. Gu Fei's avatar had already sealed itself. As long as the seal wasn't removed, the destructive force would never appear. Of course, if it really sensed the force, the immortal Venerable's Tao body would be destroyed by that force. Gu Fei wouldn't let that happen. Gu Fei used a secret technique to place 4 seals on the immortal Venerable's Tao body, completely suppressing the immortal Venerable's power. Chapter 2143. Gu Fei didn't touch the super seal. One should know that the power of a formation set up by the sovereign bone was absolutely unimaginable, even if he had just obtained an immortal venerable body. Even an immortal venerable body was nothing in the face of this super seal. Gu Zhong and the others didn't enter the ruins of the divine palace. With their current cultivation base, it was impossible for them to get close to the super seal. The wisp of qi emanating from the sovereign bone wasn't something they could withstand. Gu Fei waited for a few months. During this time, he sensed the presence of the golden goddess, but he had no intention of going to see her. In these few months, the unknown existence in the super seal would attack the seal every few days, trying to break the seal and rush out. However, this super seal was too powerful. It was set up by the sovereign bone. Perhaps only a sovereign could use such a method. Although the existence suppressed by the super seal was extremely powerful, it couldn't break the seal. In the end, Gu Fei left the place and brought Gu Zhong and the others out of the dark ghost world. Then they returned to the ancient city on the burial sky planet. At this time, the entire ancient planet was shrouded in darkness again. However, the number of ghosts in the darkness had decreased a lot. Very few powerful ghosts appeared. Master, are we going to leave this place and continue our journey? Gu Zhong asked. Yes. Gu Fei nodded. There was no reason for them to stay on the burial sky planet anymore. The super seal in the dark ghost world wasn't something he could touch now. Then Gu Fei put the 3 immortal emperors and their undead army into his inner world. The rest of them boarded the teleportation formation. Gu Fei activated the teleportation formation. The formation runes on the formation lit up immediately. Divine energy turned into a ball of divine light that enveloped Gu Fei and the others. Swoosh! With a flash of divine light, the void trembled. Gu Fei and the others disappeared from the teleportation formation. As soon as Gu Fei and the others left, the formation runes on the teleportation formation lit up again. Shwa! A ball of divine light appeared on the teleportation platform. When the divine light dissipated, 2 figures appeared on the teleportation platform. It was a man and a woman. The man had a dignified appearance, while the woman was full of spirit. A trace of craftiness could be seen in her big eyes. You guys are here too. At this moment, a figure walked out from the darkness outside the city. Golden Goddess. The man and woman walked down from the teleportation platform. Zi Yunxiao, the 2 of you siblings are really slow. The Golden Goddess walked over. She had been guarding the super array in the depths of the Divine Palace ruins for several months. At this time, she also knew that the existence in the seal would not be able to break through the seal in a short time. In that case, there was no need for her to stay on this desolate ancient planet. Humph, you still have the nerve to say that? You caused this trouble yourself. Yet you want us to shoulder it. Truly despicable. Zi Yuner said angrily. It turned out that Zi Yunxiao and his sister had only come to the ancient burial skystar now because they had been trapped in a dangerous place and had struggled to get out. The person who had led them into a dangerous place was the Golden Goddess. You can only blame yourselves for being too careless. Gu Fei has just left, so I'll be leaving too. You two can have fun here. The Golden Goddess boarded the teleportation platform, activated it, and directly teleported away. Gu Fei. Zi Yunxiao and his sister were stunned when they heard the name. That despicable guy just left. Big brother, let's go after him quickly, Zi Yuner said excitedly. During the few months that they had been trapped in the danger zone, they had brushed shoulders with death every day. In that extreme environment, their powers had increased very quickly. Now that the siblings had joined forces, they believed that they could fight against Gu Fei. However, what they did not know was that Gu Fei was also improving. Moreover, Gu Fei's primordial spirit had already nurtured the immortal Tao Divine Body. The immortal Tao Divine Body had merged with the immortal Venerate's physical body and seized the immortal Venerate's Tao fruit. Zi Yunxiao and his sister had no idea about any of this. Let's go after him. Zi Yunxiao was also very tempted. Wasn't his goal on the ancient road of the human race to defeat Gu Fei? Let's go. Without hesitation, Zi Yunxiao and his sister stepped onto the teleportation portal and activated it. They continued on the ancient road of the human tribe, heading towards their next destination. While the Z siblings were chasing after Gu Fei, Gu Fei and the others had already arrived at the second stage of the human tribe's ancient road. When Gu Fei's group arrived at the second trial, they couldn't help but be shocked by the scene in front of them. There were corpses floating around them. They were actually in ruins. Broken stones, splattered mud, broken divine weapons, and badly mutilated corpses. This was definitely a tragic battlefield. What's going on? Could it be that the human race's second trial has already been destroyed? Everyone was extremely shocked. The teleportation platform under their feet was still intact and floating in the air. Let's go. Gu Fei took the lead and rushed out. The rest hurriedly followed. After a while, they finally rushed out of the wreckage. They arrived high up in the sky and looked down at the ruins below. An ancient city has been destroyed. The ruins below them were formed when an ancient city was destroyed. There were corpses, broken pieces, and countless intact or broken bricks. Countless fragments shot out in all directions. With a single glance, one could tell that an ancient city had been destroyed by someone. No one in the ancient city was spared, and all of them were killed. Such a method was ruthless to the extreme. It was truly unimaginable. All of you, go and investigate carefully. Find out who destroyed the second stage of the human race's ancient road. Gu Fei said solemnly. Could it be that this fellow wanted to destroy the human race's ancient road? If that was the case, it would be very dangerous. Gu Zhong and the rest dispersed and entered the ruins below, carefully searching for clues. Very quickly they found something. It was a broken black spear. The spear was pitch black and there were demonic runes inscribed on it. An extremely obscure fluctuation was emitted from the broken spear. It's the demons. Gu Fei couldn't believe it. The demons had actually extended their hands to the human race's ancient road. Damn it. Chapter 2144. The second stage of the human race was destroyed by the demons. The starry sky was filled with debris, and there were even some broken bones floating in the air. The ruins covered a radius of nearly 100 miles. It seems to have happened recently. The iron-blood Taoist entered the ruins to search carefully and said to Gu Fei when he came back, "Could it be that there are still people guarding the second stage of the human race in the present era?" Gu Zhong said in disbelief. It had been a long time since anyone had walked the human race's ancient road, and the first stage had long been abandoned. Could it be that the people guarding the second stage had stayed until the present era? This is a place of life built by humans. Unfortunately, it was destroyed by the hands of the demons. Gu Fei looked at the ruins in front of him and said in a deep voice, "A place of life built by humans." Everyone couldn't help but be shocked when they heard this, because it was not an easy task to build a place of life. Not even immortals and gods could do it. Only sages who could easily create a world could do it. In other words, the second stage of the human race should be a place of life built by at least sages, where the human race could live and thrive. But now, this place where humans could live and thrive had been destroyed by the devil race. To be able to destroy such a place of life, it was enough to show how powerful the devil race was. Gu Fei and the others carefully searched through the ruins floating in the starry sky. They found that there were corpses of demons in addition to the corpses of humans. There were broken demons scattered in the ruins, and there was also a heart-palpitating demonic aura coming from a few places. All of this indicated that the second stage of the human race was recently destroyed by the demons. It seems like there was a fierce battle here. The 12 bandits couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this scene. The second stage of the human race was definitely not simple. There must be a peerless expert guarding this place of life. It was not an easy task for the demons to destroy this impregnable place. The demons must have paid a heavy price. Where did the demons come from? Zhong Liming said, "The demons on Buzhou Ancestral Star had long been extinct, And these demons that destroyed the second stage of the ancient road of the human race were probably not from Buzhou's ancestral star. Of course, the universe was endless. Perhaps somewhere in the universe, there was a territory of the demons. Demons had always been the source of chaos in the human realm. This time, the demons had destroyed the second stage of the ancient road of the human race. Could it be that there was something here that the demons had their eyes on? Don't tell me there isn't a grotto heaven in such a land of life. The military advisor of the 12 great bandits, Zhuge Liang, said as he waved his 5-colored feather fan. Grotto heaven. Gu Fei's eyes lit up when he heard this. He then sat down cross-legged in the void and operated the anti-void secret technique. A strange wave spread from his body. Then his entire body became blurry, as if he was about to fuse with the surrounding space. An aura of the great Tao of heaven and earth surrounded him. This is Gu Zhong and Yao. You couldn't help but be moved. They knew that their master was using the anti-void secret technique of the 9 secrets of a mortal path to sense the pulse of the world. This secret technique allowed Gu Fei to become one with the world. It was as if he had become one with the world, allowing him to capture the slightest pulse of the world. As Gu Fei's personal disciples, Gu Zhong and Yao, you were naturally taught by Gu Fei. However, it was very difficult to cultivate the anti-void secret technique. Elder Jiao had already awakened the true dragon bloodline in his body and obtained the inheritance of the dragon clan. Elder Jiao focused on the various great techniques of the dragon clan and temporarily put the 9 secrets of a mortal path aside. One should know that the inheritance of the dragon clan was the most suitable thing for Elder Jiao. There really is a hidden grotto heaven. Gu Fei withdrew from the state of anti-void and stood up. He stared at the void 100 miles away, but there was nothing there. Swoosh! Gu Fei took a step and instantly left the ruins, appearing 100 miles away. Everyone looked at each other. They didn't think that Zhuge Liang's seemingly unintentional words would actually come true. There really was a hidden grotto heaven in the nearby void. By the time everyone caught up, Gu Fei had already torn the void apart and stepped into the grotto heaven with a single step. Through the void that Gu Fei had torn apart, everyone saw a world full of vitality. An aura of life blew over, causing everyone to be pleasantly surprised. The void that was torn apart by Gu Fei was gradually mending, and everyone hurriedly rushed in. After everyone entered this abode, they couldn't help but be shocked. What they saw before their eyes was actually a large expanse of mountain ridges and numerous mountain ridges, stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Everywhere that entered their eyes, they were covered in a verdant and exuberant aura of life. The roars of ferocious beasts could be heard from time to time in the mountain ridges. Where spiritual qi gathered in the mountain ridges, the shadows of some pavilions could be seen. Dang! Suddenly, a bell rang from the mountains ahead. The melodious sound of the bell spread across the entire mountain. The moment the bell rang, all kinds of ferocious beasts in the mountain hid themselves. What's going on? Gu Zhong and the rest looked at each other. Could it be that the people here have discovered our arrival? Iron Blood Taoist's eyes shot out a ray of light. These people are very alert. Gu Fei said. At this moment, he was standing on top of a small mountain and gazing at the mountain ridge in front of him. After the bell rang, 3 figures immediately rushed out from the mountain. Bastards of the demons, do you really want to kill us all? A loud shout resounded through the mountains, reverberating through the mountains and not dissipating for a long time. Bastards of the demons. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Could it be that the people here thought that the demons had chased them here? This grotto heaven was not simple. It was actually 10,000 miles in radius. This grotto heaven was most likely an inner world left behind by a sage. Otherwise, how could there be such a scene? Don't be rash. An old man in white robes with a horsetail whisk in his hand said. The 3 of them were extremely fast. In an instant they came close. These three were extremely powerful experts of the human race, especially the old man who was actually a quasi-sage. Behind the old man were two middle-aged men with black beards. These two men were tall and sturdy with a full beard. Their appearance was rough, giving off a domineering feeling. Who are you guys? Could you be the elites that have stepped onto the ancient road of the human race? The old man in white robes brought the two men to the front of Gu Fei's group. The old man was extremely shocked. This was his first time seeing people outside of the grotto heaven. Chapter 2145. There was indeed a mysterious grotto in the second stage of the ancient road of the human race. Even though the land of life in the second stage had been destroyed by the demons, some of them were still lucky enough to hide in the mysterious grotto. Who are you guys? As soon as Gu Fei and the others entered the mysterious grotto, they were immediately discovered by the people here. To think that someone had barged into the grotto, this caused the survivors of the mysterious grotto to be extremely nervous. If the demons had barged in, they would have no choice but to fight the demons with their lives. The mysterious grotto of the second stage of the ancient road of the human race was another land of life. Even though the second stage of the human race had been destroyed, they could still live and reproduce here. We have no ill intentions. On the hill, Gu Fei said calmly. Even though the three of them were strong and the white-robed old man leading them was a quasi-sage, they were nothing in Gu Fei's eyes. Could it be that you guys are from the ancestors' land? The white-robed old man sized up Gu Fei and said excitedly, the people guarding the second stage of the human race were from the ancestral star of Buzhou. Even though countless years had passed, the people here still knew that they were from the ancestors' land. Ancestors' land? You guys are talking about the ancestral star of Buzhou. At this moment, Gu Zhong stepped out from behind Gu Fei and said, yes, our ancestors' land is the ancestral star of life called Buzhou. The white-robed old man was so excited that his voice was trembling. They were the descendants of the immortal soldiers and celestial generals who guarded the second stage of the human race. They longed to return to their ancestors' land. However, the path back had long been cut off. Some of them had returned to the first stage of the human race, but there was no news of them. No one knew what had happened to the first stage. The people of the second stage were unwilling to give up. They invited a few old ancestor-level existences to return to the first stage of the human race. This time, one of the old ancestor-level existences finally returned. It was an old ancestor. To everyone's surprise, this old ancestor had suffered a fatal injury. Less than a month after the old ancestor returned, he died. From this patriarch, the people of the second stage of the ancient road of the human tribe learned a piece of despairing news. The first stage of the ancient road of the human tribe had long been lost. The first stage of the human race's ancient road had undergone a huge change. The human race's ancient road had been severed. Therefore, the people on the second trial of the human race could no longer return to Buzhou ancestral star and could only stay on the second trial of the human race. Not long ago, when the demon race attacked, the old man brought some people to hide in the mysterious grotto heaven. The first stage of the human race's ancient road is no longer dangerous. You guys can return now. Gu Fei said. What? The white-clothed old man and the two strong men behind him were pleasantly surprised. If what these people said was true, then they would be able to return to the ancestral land. Is it true? We can return to the ancestral land now. The old man and the two strong men couldn't help but believe it. However, the facts spoke louder than words. These people couldn't be demons. Since they could come here, then the ancient road of the human race must have been connected. What happened on the second stage of the human race's ancient road? The iron-blood Taoist asked. It's a long story. Since you guys are here, please follow me. As the white-clothed old man spoke, he made an inviting gesture towards Gu Fei before leading the way in front. Gu Fei followed suit. Naturally, Gu Zhong and the others also followed suit. Along the way, Zhuge Liang who knew a thing or two about the Tao formations, became more and more shocked. The terrain here was very particular. It seemed to be a place where dragons flourished. Dragon chi gathered. In the eyes of mortals, this kind of terrain was incredible. It was a treasure land that could produce emperors. Of course, this kind of terrain was nothing in the eyes of powerful existences. It could only be said that the earth veins here were not simple. Gu Fei and the others were led by the white-clothed old man to the foot of a mountain. This mountain was like a crane among a flock of chickens. There was a teleportation formation at the foot of the mountain. The old man brought Gu Fei and the others through the teleportation formation and returned to a pavilion on the mountain peak. After everyone sat down, the old man told them the reason why the second stage of the human race's ancient road was destroyed. It turned out that the second stage of the human race's ancient road was not simple. It was a place to suppress demons. In the city of the second stage of the human race's ancient road, there was a great sage of demons' corpse sealed. The demons on the Crimson Blood Demon Star somehow found out about this and came to attack the second stage. As a result, a great battle inevitably broke out. Some strong demons came with the strongest demonic weapon among the demons. With a powerful strike, they destroyed the second stage of the human race's ancient road, which had existed for countless years. At the moment when the impregnable pass was destroyed, I really saw a demon corpse fall out, the white-clothed old man said with lingering fear. The white-clothed old man said with a lingering fear in his heart. The city they had lived in for generations had unexpectedly suppressed the corpse of a great sage devil. Just thinking about it made his scalp tingle. That was a great sage of demons' corpse. If the power of the seal could not suppress the demonic chi on the demon corpse, many people would die. Crimson Blood Demon Star. Hearing this name, Gu Fei couldn't help but frown. Could there really be a demon star occupied by demons in the nearby starry sky? This was not a good thing. Gu Fei and the others didn't stay in the grotto heaven for too long. After learning about the second stage of the human race's ancient road, they quickly left the grotto heaven. Crimson Blood Demon Star. There was no expression on Gu Fei's face. Before he left the grotto heaven, he had already learned about the location of the demon star from the white-clothed old man. The Crimson Blood Demon Star wasn't very close to the second stage of the human race's ancient road. There were millions of miles between the two. Master, are you thinking of? Gu Zhong said hesitantly. This immortal, venerable clone of mine has never seen blood before. This is an opportunity. Gu Fei glanced at Gu Zhong and said, "This." Everyone couldn't help but be moved. It wasn't a secret that Gu Fei had obtained an immortal venerable clone. Although immortal venerables were powerful, they never had the chance to use it. Let's go. Gu Fei took the lead and flew in the direction of the Crimson Blood Demon Star, a distance of millions of miles. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely not be able to travel that far in a short period of time. However, Gu Fei wasn't an ordinary person. He possessed the fastest movement technique in the world. A few days later, Gu Fei's figure appeared in the starry sky near the Crimson Blood Demon Star. The Scarlet Blood Demon Star was extremely strange. The rocks and sand on the star were all dark red in color, as if they had been dyed with blood. Chapter 2146. The Scarlet Blood Demon Star looked like a star that had been dyed red by blood. It wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. There wasn't a single blade of grass growing on it. The sand and stones on it were either red or dark red in color. There was a devilish aura that enveloped the entire star. From afar, it looked like the heart of an incomparably ferocious devil. This is the devil that destroyed the second stage of the human race's ancient road and took away the corpse of the great sage demons that was sealed in the second stage. Gu Fei stopped 10,000 miles away from the Scarlet Blood Demon Star. There was definitely an incomparably powerful devil on this star. One must know that the aura emitted by the devil here had already enveloped the entire star. As long as someone barged into the star, the devil on the star would be the first to sense it. Gu Fei didn't want to beat the grass and startle the snake at this moment because he still didn't know the actual situation of the other party. If he were to rush forward recklessly, he would fall into a passive situation. Master! At this time, Gu Zhong and the rest finally caught up. Take a good look at the star in front. Gu Fei glanced at Gu Zhong and the rest and said, "This is the Scarlet Blood Demon Star." When Gu Zhong and the rest saw the star, they couldn't help but be incomparably shocked. There was actually such a devil star in this star region. When everyone sensed the demonic aura coming from the Scarlet Star, their expressions changed. The devil on the Scarlet Star wasn't simple. The Demon Lord's aura could already affect the entire planet. It was truly surprising that there was such a powerful Demon Lord on the Red Planet. "Master, are we really going to fight against the devil here?" Gu Zhong asked. The devil aura here made him feel uneasy. The Scarlet Blood Demon Star was extraordinary. There must be an unimaginable devil entrenched on it. "You're afraid," Gu Fei said. His tone was incomparably calm. No one knew what he was feeling right now. "Why would I be afraid of these devil bastards?" Gu Zhong raised his head and puffed out his chest, a look of disdain on his face. "Very well, then go and investigate the devil's actual situation," Gu Fei said. Gu Zhong's face immediately collapsed when he heard this. He said to Gu Fei with a sad face, "Master, can I not go?" "What do you think?" Gu Fei looked at Gu Zhong and said with a solemn expression, "I'll go then." He was really the most despicable. Why did he have to speak up? If he didn't say anything, wouldn't everything have been fine? His intestines were already green with regret. "Senior brother, little sister wishes you success." Yao Yu smiled at Gu Zhong. "You little brat." Gu Zhong snapped. Then, with a sway of his body, he disappeared before everyone's eyes. His speed was so fast that even the Iron Blood Taoist was shocked. Is the Desolate Steppes really the fastest in the world? Iron Blood Taoist thought. "Really, Master? He actually sent me to this godforsaken place where even birds don't shit and turtles don't lay eggs." In a valley on the Scarlet Blood Demon Star, a figure was hiding and carefully sneaking into the valley while the sky was dark. This person was Gu Zhong, who regretted being the most despicable. He had already been in the Scarlet Blood Demon Star for 4 hours. There was no night or day on the star, nor were there any other celestial phenomena. However, he realized that the star would darken every once in a while. Gu Zhong used the anti-void technique to successfully sneak into the Scarlet Star. When he stepped on the Scarlet Star, he felt that this star was different from the others. It was as if this star was alive. He didn't know why such a thought popped up in his mind. This star was very desolate. Flowers and trees were extinct. Even the vitality seemed to have been extinguished. At first glance, all he could see were red stones and sand. However, it wasn't difficult to find traces of demons on this star. Soon, Gu Zhong found a place where demons gathered. This place was the valley he was sneaking into. The valley wasn't big, and it was surrounded by mountains on all sides. Demonic qi rose from within, enveloping the entire valley in a layer of dark, demonic qi. Gu Zhong cultivated the 9 secrets of immortal Tao. The anti-void technique among the 9 secrets allowed his aura and even fluctuations to be infinitely close to the surrounding void. Of course, if he had the cultivation of his master, Gu Fei, he could directly become one with the world. No one below the sage level would be able to sense his presence. Even though his anti-void technique was only at the initial level, it was enough for him to deal with the current situation. Soon, he snuck into the valley and hid in a pile of rocks. He then carefully looked into the depths of the valley. Gu Zhong couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the situation in the depths of the valley. He saw a large piece of flat land 6 or 7 kilometers in front of him. In the center of the flat land was a platform that was dozens of meters tall. There were more than a dozen fires burning around the platform. A demonic bead that emitted a dark blue demonic light hovered above the platform. The demonic bead was only the size of an adult's fist, but the demonic aura it emitted was extremely powerful. What are these demon bastards trying to do? Gu Zhong couldn't help but feel bewildered when he saw the scene in the valley. Soon, for demons dressed in black walked out from the darkness in the depths of the valley. They were 4 human-shaped demons. They were actually carrying a giant black coffin to the bottom of the platform. Then they walked up the stairs in front of the platform, step by step, carrying the giant coffin up to the sky. What the hell? What the demons were doing in the valley was too strange. It made Gu Zhong feel uneasy, especially when he saw the giant black coffin. It seemed like there was a supreme demon slumbering in it. The demonic aura coming from the coffin made Gu Zhong's heart palpitate. Could it be? Gu Zhong couldn't help but be moved when he thought of something. At this moment, the 4 demons in black had already carried the giant black coffin to the platform. They then put the coffin down and stood in 4 different directions on the platform, no longer moving. Soon, another group of demons walked out from the depths of the valley. From the figure of the person in front, it seemed to be a woman. The group of demons were also dressed in black and had cloaks draped over their heads. Their appearances couldn't be seen. The group of demons came to the front of the high platform, and the woman directly ascended the platform. The demons behind her dispersed below the platform. The woman went up to the platform and stood in front of the black coffin. Immediately, a demonic sound that shook one's mind rang out from the platform. This demonic sound seemed to come from the ancient times. It seemed extremely ancient and distant. When the demonic sound entered the ears, even a great emperor like Gu Zhong almost lost himself. It's too terrifying. Gu Zhong's shock was no small matter. This kind of demonic sound had almost broken through his heart's defenses and triggered his heart's devil. Chapter 2147. The huge platform, the black demonic coffin, the mysterious demonic sound. All of this opened Gu Zhong's eyes. He was extremely shocked. What was that demon doing? Was it summoning souls? The demonic sound lingered on the platform. The black-cloaked woman was chanting some kind of ancient scripture. It was a demonic scripture that contained unfathomable demonic power. The mysterious demonic sound caused Gu Zhong to feel great pressure. It could actually disturb his mind, forcing him to be careful when dealing with it. If his heart demons were to be triggered here, he would be in danger of becoming a demon. Gu Zhong did not want to become a demon. Who is it? Just as Gu Zhong was focusing his mind to fight against the demonic sound, he found it difficult to maintain the state of merging his body with the world. The demon in the valley immediately sensed his presence. Damn it! Gu Zhong immediately jumped out from the pile of rocks he was hiding in and turned to flee. Kill! A furious roar rang out from below the platform. The dozen or so black-cloaked demons standing around the platform immediately flew up and chased after Gu Zhong. The demonic sound on the platform did not stop. The demonic patterns that appeared on the black demonic coffin shone with demonic light. The demonic patterns interweaved to form an ancient demonic diagram, triggering the powerful demonic power of the planet. The sky above the valley immediately changed color. The entire world darkened. Blood-colored lightning flashed high up in the sky, wreaking havoc. The demonic power that gathered from all directions all gathered towards the black demonic coffin. The entire demonic coffin was like a bottomless black hole, devouring the demonic chi of the world. Within the black demonic coffin, there seemed to be an unparalleled, true demon awakening. The demonic aura coming from the coffin grew stronger and stronger. Rumble! The demonic coffin shook. What's going on? At that moment, in the starry sky, tens of thousands of miles away from the crimson blood demon planet, Gu Fei suddenly sensed something. His gaze seemed to pierce through the world, ignoring the distance between them. He looked into the valley on the crimson, blood demon planet. "Who's spying?" An old voice rang out from the darkness in the depths of the valley. When Gu Fei looked into the valley, an old man walked out from the darkness. The old man's body was shrouded in a devilish aura. The devilish aura was somewhat unique, and it would occasionally transform into devilish dragons that bared their fangs and brandished their claws. "Old ancestor, why did you come out?" On the high platform, the demonic sound had already stopped. At this time, the ancient demonic patterns on the demon coffin had already been completely activated by the demonic sound. It could automatically devour the demonic chi in the surroundings. "We're being watched." The old man took a step forward and arrived on the high platform. He held a walking stick in his hand. The walking stick was completely black, and the head of the walking stick was a dragon head. The walking stick was carved with a dragon body, and there was a demonic aura faintly visible on it. The old man's gaze met Gu Fei's in the void, and sparks flew. "What?" The black-cloaked woman was shocked. She then said, "Didn't we destroy the second stage of the ancient road of the humans? There shouldn't be any other experts around here." That woman felt that this was inconceivable. To be able to alarm the old ancestor, this newcomer was most likely not that simple. And just as Gu Fei and the old man sensed each other's presence, outside the valley, Gu Zhong was being chased by the dozen or so devils for 1,000 miles. "You bunch of devil bastards, chasing so closely. Do you really think that I'm afraid of you?" Gu Zhong suddenly stopped. He turned around and roared at the dozen black-cloaked demons that were chasing him. A powerful aura erupted from his body. Seeing that Gu Zhong had suddenly stopped, the devils couldn't help but be shocked. At the same time, they sensed the powerful aura erupting from Gu Zhong's body. "Kill!" Without any hesitation, the dozen or so devils immediately attacked Gu Zhong. In an instant, all sorts of devil weapons smashed towards Gu Zhong. One of the devils raised his hand and cast out a devilish net that enveloped the heavens and earth towards Gu Zhong. "Eat my fist." Gu Zhong directly punched out with the golden element fist. His fists were like two golden divine suns, emitting resplendent golden light that illuminated the dark space. Bang! Boom! Sounds of collision rang out unceasingly. Gu Zhong actually used his fists to clash against the dozen or so devil weapons. The powerful fist energy actually sent more than half of the devil weapons flying. Some of them even exploded from a single punch. In the end, Gu Zhong grabbed onto the devilish net with both hands and exerted force, directly tearing a huge hole in the net. How is this possible? All the devils were shocked to the extreme. This human's physical body was actually this strong? How did he manage to cultivate such a strong physical body? These devils didn't know that after Gu Zhong's martial body was tempered by the saint blood, its strength was already close to that of a saint weapon. These devil weapons weren't the devil weapons refined by the devil saint, so it was hard for them to cause any damage to Gu Zhong. Swish! Gu Zhong rushed out from the devilish net and directly pounced towards the devil closest to him. That devil wanted to attack, but Gu Zhong's pounce was simply too fast. Before that devil could react, he was already pinned to the ground. Kacha! Gu Zhong directly broke the devil's neck. Boom! Just as Gu Fei was about to break the neck of the demon, a ball of demonic flames erupted in front of him before burning towards him. A demon was attacking him. Gu Zhong exerted force with both his legs and pushed off the devil's body. After that, like a divine leopard, he darted out and avoided the devil fire that was coming towards him. He managed to avoid the demonic fire, but the demon whose bones were broken by his feet weren't so lucky. The demonic fire swallowed the demon's body and burned it to ashes in an instant. These devils didn't show any mercy. Even if it was their own people, it was the same. A devil died under the devil fire of his own people. Even his soul couldn't escape. Bang! At this moment, Gu Zhong had already arrived in front of another devil and punched the devil's abdomen. His fist directly penetrated the devil's body and came out from his back. Gu Zhong shook his fist, and a powerful force erupted. The devil's body was instantly shattered into millions of pieces. A devil soul, wrapped in devil light, rushed out from the blood mist. Chapter 2148. In the blink of an eye, he had killed 2 demons. This was something that had the other demons chasing after Gu Zhong in shock. They had not expected Gu Zhong to be this strong. Spread out. Hurry and spread out. Distance yourself from that human. Their shouts rang out as the other demons retreated in all directions immediately. The close combat strength of the enemy was way too strong. In just an instant, 2 demons had died. Ha! Gu Zhong burst out laughing. At the same time, he was moving at an extremely fast speed, turning into a shadow that was almost invisible to the naked eye. With a flash, he had appeared before another demon. Roar! That demon roared out and retreated rapidly. At the same time, he waved both his hands out, sending out a series of demonic marks that were aimed at Gu Zhong. Every single demonic mark contained a tremendous amount of demonic power. If they were to be imprinted on the body of the enemy, they would definitely be severely injured. But it was a pity that the opponent of this demon was Gu Zhong. One had to know that the path of martial arts that the martial ancestor had created was one that specialized in close combat. The moment a martial artist got into close combat, even if the opponent was stronger than the martial artist, they would definitely be in deep trouble. Furthermore, these demons that were chasing after Gu Zhong were only at the Almighty State at the very most. Even if some of them were at the Almighty Emperor State, they would not stand a chance against Gu Zhong. Gu Zhong lowered his body and dodged the demonic marks that were coming at him. He then stomped his feet on the ground. Boom! Instantly, a red cloud of dust rose from the ground. This single stomp of Gu Zhong caused the ground beneath his feet to cave in, causing dust to rise up into the air. At the same time, Gu Zhong had already made use of this momentum to pounce into the embrace of that demon, coming into intimate contact with him. Bam! Kacha! Gu Zhong slammed into the body of the demon. Instantly, the sound of bones cracking rang out from within the body of the demon. After that, the demon fell limp like a pile of mud, as though all the bones in his body had been shattered. Shoo! Suddenly, a ball of demonic light shot out from the head of the demon. This was the essence, spirit of the demon, wanting to escape. However, Gu Zhong stretched out his right hand and grabbed onto that ball of demonic light. No, the demon's primordial spirit was scared out of its wits. He never thought that his opponent would be so strong that even his primordial spirit could not escape. The devil's primordial spirit was about to beg for mercy, but Gu Zhong clenched his right hand. Pum! The devil light in his hand was crushed by him. One of the demons died in Gu Zhong's hands. Everything happened very quickly. Only when the demon's primordial spirit was caught by Gu Zhong did the other demons regain their senses and attack Gu Zhong. However, it was already too late. No one could save that demon. Boom! A ball of demonic fire descended from the sky, burning towards Gu Zhong. It was as if a black, demonic sun had appeared in the sky, and an almighty emperor-level demon general was attacking Gu Zhong. Among the remaining 12 demons, there were 3 almighty emperor-level existences. As for the rest, they were all almighty existences. Such a team of demons would definitely be the main force of the second stage of the human race's ancient road. But now, this team of demons that had once attacked the second stage of the human race's ancient road was in great danger. Gu Zhong's strength had far exceeded their expectations. Gu Zhong chuckled. With a sway of his body, he instantly appeared 100 feet away, dodging the attack of the demonic fire. His speed was so fast that it shocked all the other demons. This guy is pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. He wants to lure us here and kill us all. Some of the demons came to a realization. Cunning human race. Some demons roared. Kill! The almighty emperor-level demon in the sky roared. As if he had turned into a demonic sun, he pounced down towards Guzhong. Black, demonic fire raged, enveloping the entire sky. "Humph, you want to kill me?" Guzhong snorted coldly. Then he stomped his feet on the ground. Bang! The ground exploded, causing dust to fly everywhere. With just one stomp, a huge crater was formed on the hard ground. At the same time, Guzhong shot up into the sky like a golden divine arrow, breaking through the layers of demonic fire. In an instant, he arrived in front of the almighty emperor-level demon. That almighty emperor-level demon was extremely shocked. The fact that the other party was able to ignore his demonic fire shocked him to the extreme. One should know that his demonic fire was the extremely powerful 9 underworld demonic fire. As long as a cultivator was touched by the demonic fire, they would be burnt to ashes. However, Guzhong's body emitted a golden aura, blocking all the demonic fire outside his body. None of the demonic fire could touch his body. "Eat my fist." Guzhong was very direct. His right fist punched towards the demonic figure that was covered in demonic fire. The ferocious metal fist force shook the void, and the endless demonic fire was dispersed by his fist. Bang! Kacha! The demon could only use his hands to protect his chest. Guzhong's fist smashed on the demon's arms. A bone-chilling sound of bones breaking was heard. The demon was directly sent flying thousands of feet away by Guzhong's fist before falling from the sky. How is this possible? Seeing the scene, all the demons turned pale with fright. Guzhong was much stronger than they had imagined. He actually defeated the 3 strongest demon emperors among them in one move. How could they fight against him? Some demons wanted to escape, but with the other 2 demon emperors watching, no one dared to escape. One should know that even if they escaped now, they would probably die when they returned to their clan. The devil race's punishment for those clansmen who fled in the face of battle was very severe. Let's go together. One of the demon emperors rushed towards Guzhong after Guzhong sent the other demon emperor flying with a punch. Powerful demonic energy surged from his body. Die. The demon emperor waved his right hand, and a demonic light immediately flew out from his hand. It spun and slashed towards Guzhong. The demonic light wrapped around a crescent moon-shaped demonic blade. Swoosh! At this moment, the 3rd demon emperor made his move. A crimson light appeared, and a blood-colored demonic arrow was shot towards Guzhong. There were demonic marks faintly visible on the blood-colored demonic arrow. As long as this demonic arrow hit, even an almighty emperor would die. This was not an ordinary demonic arrow. It was the famous blood demonic arrow of the demons. The demonic arrow contained bloody demonic chi. If this demonic chi invaded the body, even an almighty emperor would die. Ha! Come at me together. I don't have time to play with you.